get some good YouTube hits off of some of that.
Now you've never seen any of those. I only use one.
They told me that
There you
the
go.
seat I picked in the Senate had some hazards because I'm in front of the approach leader, and this is 2 times you're going to be on the video.
don't know
And
me
the
very
very
well.
first day, we had to endure
I don't have to know you
the
outside
last
here.
minute.
I just know you from the
Yeah,
job.
we are on.
Hey, you grew up here.
Kind of thing. I don't know if I like
Anyway.
it.
I did a deliberate eye roll, but I was
You
not
can
on.
ask us. Ask who?
But I was not on.
That's good.
So disappointed.
Oh, what do you guys? Should I keep trying that? It's gonna be a long week. Oh, sorry. Try to stay hydrated, you know. Hopefully it won't be 5 hours.
It's not like.
Have you met these guys? I created it yesterday.
Missed it. You know why this? You're from Air Force. You know why this won't take off by itself?
Oh, give it to me. That's one, Jeff.
It's just stationary.
I got that one online. I mean, not online yet.
Oh.
Oh, no.
Go before you.
Well, good. Yeah, definitely wanted that.
You're in trouble again.
Steve is at Glen Sperry tonight. Well, it depends. How much you need me. So.
That's the second time he's heard. Planning and zoning that as well. I'm like, you bringing food?
Yeah. Back in the day when you could go across the front of it, I flew one of them off Dorchak Dam, and it caught the wind and went clear over Gantry Current. Aren't allowed to do that no more.
Yes, they are. Got to find a part-time job in action somewhere.
And I gave her a contact.
And it was a bit, but
Oh, that would have been.
but I said it out loud. So.
I don't even keep. We have 2 departments in our house.
Too late, baby.
Oh, please, please. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Yeah. No. Okay. We are there.
No, she did. She got it. I'm only a bill. Huh?
Way past that. It's kind of like
What's that? Oh yeah. You know why that won't take off by itself? It's only stationary. Thanks. I do. So it reminds me of my day at the courthouse when Fleming took his job. You know, did you hear Judge Fleming left? Yeah. He took a more appealing job. We don't want that. Yeah. Sometimes they just
just like we
Talking, okay? Make sure you're talking to your mic.
Oh, okay. I got a story, but I'm not going to tell it. It involves the sound.
Watch those 5 o'clock. What's your Apple device saying? 5 o'clock. Document. Executive session. Is that what you're talking about? It's exempt disclosure from public record
Yeah.
documents. Whenever you're ready, Mayor.
Call the meeting to order. Tiffany, please take the roll.
Councilman Harjo.
Present.
Councilwoman Workala.
Present.
Councilman McCarthy.
Present.
Councilman Sanders.
Present.
Mayor Sykes.
President, let the record reflect that we do have a quorum for Tuesday, June 23rd, 2026. We'll run down to presentations. We'll go down to number 1, Visitor Center FY 26-27 budget presentation. Hello.
It's okay if it's the now.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
I am Christy Accord. I'm here on behalf of Denise Barisi for the Desert Mountain Visitor Center representation. I just wanted to share with you, along with the information that she shared within her packets, according to the most recent data from Idaho Department of Commerce, Elmore County generates approximately $26 million to $32 million annually of direct visitation spending. The Desert Mountain Visitor Center is a major part of that equation. Having a place to stop and gather information, whether in person or on website through visit elmorecounty.idaho.com. We now have a website going. That presence is being pushed out, and we've been having a lot of success with tourism and recruiting tourism into Elmore County. We thank you for your continued support for the Desert Mountain Visitor Center. And you guys have a packet that she was able to share with you. And I know we are here for a funding request and continued support.
Council, got any questions for Christy?
Do that. Easy peasy. Thanks.
Okay,
Thanks, Christy.
thank you.
All right, I'm gonna run down to item number 2, discussion with city legal. Mr. Schroeder, the floor is all yours.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. First, I need to ask, is anybody taking any prescription medication for insomnia, because the next 33 slides may cause drowsiness or an inability to function. So you don't want to drive a car or anything while listening to this. Mr. Mayor and members of the council, we've had many discussions, and we're going to continue to have discussions about development impact fees, both for the city and via the intergovernmental agreement. You've authorized the engagement of a consultant to help us revise our capital improvement plan in consultation with the Impact Fee Advisory Committee. What I think is really important is to know all of the ins and outs. People talk a lot about impact fees without really understanding the real nuts and bolts of what they are and what they aren't. And as the governing body, you have the ability to decide whether or not you think they're worth getting, whether they produce enough revenue, or whether you're going to have enough growth that you need them. So with that, I prepared, this was the backbone set of slides for one jurisdiction. I did this a similar presentation to another jurisdiction. And so I've tailored this one to Mountain Home specifically, including references to Mountain Home City Code and some relevant parts of Idaho Code. And so this takes a little bit of, roughly an hour. Jump in and ask questions at any point through this, but I'm going to walk you through the beginning, other sources of revenue, how you apply them, and what you have to do to collect, enforce, and expend the money. And afterwards, we're going to review some documents in an executive session, somewhat related to this topic. So with that, this is what we're gonna kind of cover, and the things you need to keep in mind. What are impact fees, first of all, and then you need to think about what kind of growth the city faces, what kinds of infrastructure the city is currently lacking or deficient in, what you need that you don't already have, what kinds of infrastructure will the city need to support additional growth, and all kinds of infrastructure. Just think of anything you can think of. How many undeveloped but buildable or permitted as of right lots or areas are there in the city? In other words, those things that you can just go get a building permit and build something. What are the current capacities of water and wastewater, and are there stormwater concerns? How much new growth will occur via annexation? And what kinds of infrastructure are population based? What kinds are household based? The number of households that we're calculating per household, or what kinds are land use based? Square footage of retail, square footage of industrial, this sort of thing. Those are the things you need to keep in mind as we go through this, and we'll discuss them when we get to the relevant portions of the code. So Idaho Code 678201 is the Idaho Development Impact Fee Act. It's implemented as one of many tools to make sure growth pays its own way. Cost of preserving a current level of service. This is the costs of preserving a current level of service are not borne solely by existing residents, right? And the city cannot shift the cost of improving deficiencies to the new growth. You can't make the newcomers pay for those things that you should have done on your own, that you wanted to make better. So if you have a jail that's overcrowded, for example, right now, you can't make the newcomers solely pay for the improvements needed to expand that jail. 676513, the subdivision code, allows for mitigation of impact on subdivision approval, but then mandates compliance with the Impact Fee Advisory Act. It's heavily laden with specifically defined terms, and that's where you have to be very careful. There's terms laying out there like land use assumptions, service area, service level, service units that are all defined in the code. Improperly adopted or non-compliant impact fee codes or their provisions are null and void and of no legal effect. And prior and current litigation can highlight the strengths and weaknesses of using impact fees. So there's currently litigation in the city of Idaho Falls over their impact fee code. And I have some documents from that case. I've been following it closely at the Municipal Attorneys Association. I was able to chat with the city attorney for Idaho Falls and some of their legal counsel regarding the case, and it's progressed. It's important to consider that the impact fee statute requires the city to consider and not necessarily explain, but just say that you have considered other sources of revenue to provide to take care of the infrastructure needs to support growth. So those revenue sources are annexation fees and annexation agreements. Hi, we'd like to annex into your fair city. Great. How about you bring me a wastewater plant? Then we'll talk. Things like that. Those are lawful, provided you have an ordinance doing it, and we can draft one or structure one for you to do that. You can get into volunteer development agreements, voluntary exactions. The developer's like, I really want to do this, so I'm going to bring you a whole new Disneyland and pay for it. Great. Done. As we've talked about before in a prior class of local improvement districts, it's a mechanism. An LID is a mechanism by which you can obtain funding for infrastructure improvements. Community infrastructure districts are a very powerful tool. That was one of the mechanisms employed by Mayfield Springs, I believe, and our firm has represented a couple of others that have formed. So you create a community infrastructure district, the taxes are levied against them when they develop. They issue a bond and build all the infrastructure, and then you've noticed on Highway 55, there's this development that says no CID tax. And they consider that a plus because you don't have, but somebody has to pay for all that infrastructure. You can acquire real property through eminent domain, but you still have to pay. You can do judicial confirmation, lease purchase, certificates of participation. That was how we got 9 holes of a golf course and a police station. Revenue bonds and general obligation bonds. These are all other sources of revenue for improvements. So, first off, what is a development impact fee? It's a payment of money, this is really important, imposed as a condition of development approval to pay for a proportionate share of the cost of system improvements needed to serve development. Those italicized terms are themselves defined elsewhere in the code. Development. This is really, 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 really important because I think people miss a lot of very valuable aspects of this definition. Any construction or installation of a building or structure, change in the use of a building, or change in the use, character, or appearance of land that creates additional demand and need for public facilities. Public facilities are defined elsewhere in here as well. It's also the subdivision of property that would permit any change in the use, character, or appearance of land, and it doesn't include activities undertaken by a taxing district or a school in the course. So you're not going to charge other governmental entities development impact fees unless your ordinance expressly includes those taxing districts or schools. Cities here does not, and so they don't pay them, and that's why. System improvements are capital improvements to public facilities designed to provide service to a service area, including those described in the LID statute. Project improvements are site improvements and facilities that are planned and designed to provide service for a particular development or project, the subdivision's own park, its own streets, that are necessary for the use and convenience of occupants, and project means a particular development on an identified parcel of land. A service unit is a standardized measure of consumption, use, generation, or discharge attributable to an individual unit of development calculated in accordance with generally accepted engineering or planning standards. So, cops per 1,000 people, you'll see me use that one a lot. Acres of park per 1,000 people. But that's generalized. Park is parks. You might want to make parks more fine-grained. You might want to make police more fine-grained. Fire stations and fire apparatus is a little different, and streets are, Jeff not know, right? So you can do trip generation, you can do lane miles of streets, but what institutes demand for that? And then there's a different calculation for the need for signals, the need for turn lanes, and these sorts of things. But those are, service units are really what's at work in calculating what those fees end up being. Land use assumptions is a description of the service area and projections of land uses, densities, intensities, and population in the service area over at least a 20-year period. What you can use impact fees for, this is it. This is all. Nothing else. Useful improvements with a useful life of 10 years or more by new construction or other action which increase the service capacity of a public facility. So, you have a police station and you add 5 new offices, a wing on the side of it, then you've increased the service capacity of the public facility, and it has a useful life of 10 years or more. If you build them a tent, doesn't last, maybe it lasts 10 years, I don't know, but so public facilities are defined in the code. water, wastewater, roads, streets, bridges, rights-of-way, traffic signals, landscaping, stormwater collection, parks and open space, and public safety facilities, law enforcement, fire stations and apparatus, emergency medical, and street lighting. Notice schools aren't on here. Glaringly are not on here. Because other places in the statute call out that you can require the mitigation for subdivision approval, and you're called out to ask schools the impact of a proposed development on the school, and then they yank Lucy in the football sort of a thing. What they cannot be used for: ongoing operational costs, wages, things with the useful life of less than 10 years, and improvements that increase a level of service or to correct an existing service level deficiency. Can't use capital improvements for that. So how do you start doing impact fees? If you're starting from scratch, you're coming in the middle. Some of you have been around the block for a little bit, but here's how you get them started. So think about this as we go through it, because there might be some things we need to look at going forward as we redo the CIP or amend your ordinance. There's some things in there that are just kind of shouting out for improvement. So you identify your projected growth rates and you identify your land use assumptions. There's a lot of work being done by this action here, so it's important to give that all the scrutiny that it needs. You need to identify the need for capital improvements that support growth. What things do I have to build or buy to take care of this new growth, if it occurs and when it occurs, and how much is there? You need to think about, you need to identify your level of service. I have this many, so the city has, I don't know, how many miles of streets do we have, Chris, now? Is it 100 now? Is it?
175.
It used to be 75, but okay, so yeah, we've grown a bit, right? So miles of streets, projects and service areas. The next step, you appoint a development impact fee advisory committee, and then you begin developing a capital improvements plan. You get your department heads, your city staff, and you get engineering and planning professionals and the impact fee advisory committee. They all work together, and there's no reason they can't work together with the governing body, as in addition to all those elements, to talk about how much does a new fire station cost? Is that an accurate estimate of its cost? How much are fire trucks? And so on and so forth. You review the proposed plan, the land use assumptions, proposed improvements, costs, estimated, and you have to have estimated start and completion dates for those improvements. You prepare a draft capital improvement plan and fee schedules for the various public facilities to be paid for using impact fee funds. Then you prepare a development impact fee code amendment ordinance, a fee schedule for various types of developments that are required to offset potential detrimental impacts. You have to pass a resolution amending the comp plan to add the improvement plan. You have to prepare a new fee resolution, and you have to schedule public hearings to do all. And you've gone through one of those actions at one of these meetings that we did all at once. So one of them is to identify the type of service units that are applicable to the category of improvements. Not all of them are going to be the same. So some service units, again, acres of park per 1,000 people, police officers per 1,000 people. Fire trucks and streets, not sure. I don't know. I mean, it's in the capital improvement plan, but this is a generalized sense. You have to think about, how am I going to measure what people are getting now? Maybe it's fire truck response time. Maybe there's a circle around each fire station. They can get there. Okay, if I get this much growth over here, now I'm going to need another fire station if I have this many houses. That's where your planning advisor that helps draft this capital improvement plan comes in handy, as does your fire chief and cities and other city staff regarding what the service units are. So maybe the base service unit is X number of fire stations per so many houses, X number of fire stations per industrial plants. You identify your existing levels of service and the potential for detrimental impact on those levels of service brought about by new development. So officers per 1,000, acres of parks, and so on. And then you identify what the improvements are that are needed to offset that. You identify the cost of those improvements, and then you predict the amount of growth that's going to trigger the need for them. and the rate at which that growth occurs. And you figure out when the new improvements are going to be needed to support it. At what point do you need to actually start building the thing? Maybe you acquire the land first, then you start building the building, then the building's done, then you put a fire truck in it. So maybe it's staged out over a few years, again identified in the CIP. Or maybe poof, you need it tomorrow. Thinking about that, you think about, again, and you should always keep at the top of your mind, the other sources of revenue. Can I get there quicker? Can I get there more efficiently if I do some other method of revenue than this one? And we'll get to the good part in a minute, where you got an 8 or 11-year time frame, or 20 years for wastewater if you go down that road. So you identify no fewer than 5 persons to serve on the Impact Fee Advisory Committee. 2 have to be in development, must reside within the service area. At least 2 must not be employees. And the Impact Fee Advisory Committee serves in an advisory capacity and assists in adopting land use assumptions. So that first step, how fast are we going to grow? Where are we going to grow? What's going to change, even in not just necessarily grow, but change in the city? We're going to redo this area. They review the capital improvement plan. They monitor and review implementation of the capital improvement plan. They file periodic reports, at least annually, and report any perceived inequities. And they advise the governmental entity of the need to update or revise land use assumptions, the CIP, and the fees themselves. That committee works in coordination with the city's consultant in developing the improvement plan. They prepare the capital improvement plan, the cost of which, so as you have seen, they're not free, and you have to pay a professional to do it. You or I or somebody could sit around with back of the envelope calculations and maybe come up close, but I also know when I don't know what I'm doing. So I know when I take a car to Frank to have it fixed versus when I can do it myself. We got to take it to Frank. So you're paying a guy who is a professional. It's got to be prepared by qualified professionals in finance, engineering, planning, and transportation, and then they shall consult with the advisory committee. But anyway, the cost of developing it can be attributed to and spread out over the plan and included in the fee. So you're going to collect those, when you collect those fees, it's going to pay the cost of that consultant putting this thing together. So in the CIP, the contents of the CIP, it has to contain these things: a general description of all existing public facilities and their deficiencies, and a reasonable estimate of the cost and a plan to develop funding for curing the existing deficiencies. So again, with the overcrowded jail example. Okay, our jail has 52 beds and we always have 60 people in jail, so they camp out on the lawn. So now I have to put in my capital improvement plan the fact that I want to expand the jail to make sure that it's compliant. Therefore, the county's going to pay this much to get it there, and then the impact fee can kick in for making it even bigger when I get more growth. So you're going to have, like our CIP does, it has 2 columns. It has things that you're going to pay for upfront out of general fund, and it has the second column, that portion of which is attributable to growth, necessitated by growth. You have to have a commitment to use other available sources of revenue to cure existing deficiencies, and then you have an analysis of the total capacity, level of current usage, and commitment for usage of capacity of existing capital improvements. Again, that has to be prepared by a qualified professional planner, and it has to have a description of the land use assumptions. What slide am I on? 19. Oh, good. Oh, we're going to get. So you must have all of these things, a definitive table establishing specific level or quantity of use, consumption, generation, or discharge of a service unit for each category. You have to have a table. Trips, miles, fire stations, cops, acres of park, miles of running park pathways, pocket parks. A description of all system improvements and their costs necessitated by and attributable to new development in the service area based on approved land use assumptions to provide a level of service not to exceed the current one. So I have 2 officers per 1,000 people. When I get several thousand more people. I'm going to need several more officers. I need to expand the police station. I can build 5 more offices to support 5 more officers, but I can't build 10 more offices because then I'm gonna get more than 2 officers per thousand if we fill those, and so on. Yes, sir.
Still go back and use other means of revenue in order to expand it to 10.
You could, yes. If you want to improve the level of service, that's great. You can't just put it all
Can't
on the
do
new
it.
guys. Hey, everybody, we're going to improve our level of service. We're going to kick in this much, and you're going to kick in this much. Yes, correct. So again, these are you're making projections. The projected demand for system improvements required by new service units projected over a reasonable period of time not to exceed 20 years. Identification of all sources and levels of funding available to the government entity for the financing of the system improvements, and a schedule setting forth the estimated dates for commencing and completing all the things in the plan. Those all have to be in the capital improvement plan. It has to be updated at least once every 5 years. It requires adoption of a capital budget by the governmental entity. So you may already have a capital budget. We're going to buy a new city hall. It's not necessarily part of the CIP for impact fees, but you may have a capital budget. This is going to be part of that. It requires public hearing and published notice. And this is one of the special public hearings. So it's not just a regular one like you do for a planning and zoning action or for fees. It has hyper-specific publication requirements and a specific notice to everyone who might be affected by them that you're invited to come and present evidence to this body about what these fees are and what you think of them, or what you think of this capital improvement plan. So there's a specific ask that's put in the public notice, which we did for that last hearing that we had. It requires an amendment to the comp plan, and you have to add the capital improvement plan as an element of the comprehensive plan. The fee shall not, so these are the requirements that you must adopt in your ordinance, and there's 25 of them. All of them, but these are some of the key ones that they're gotta have, and you have these in yours. It shall not exceed a proportionate share of the cost of system improvements, so that in your capital improvement plan, you figure out, okay, if parks are attributable at so much per household, or so much per person in each household is gonna bring so many people, then you divide it out by the cost of the households over the growth period, and that's their proportionate share. You built that house, you paid this much money, and that gets us that closer to that park. They're calculated on the basis of levels of service for public facilities applicable to existing development, and it must be attributable to capacity demands that are generated by the new development. Again, if the developer or somebody can show, and we'll get to that part here in a little bit, that I'm not gonna create a new demand on your service capacity, then why would we charge them the fee? If I'm not going to create a new demand, then I shouldn't be charged it. And so there has to be a mechanism in here. So in any event, we'll get to that part. And it specifies the point at the development process at which the fee shall be collected no earlier than the start of construction, the issuance of a building permit, or as we agree on. Oh, he wants to pay them all up front. I want to pay all the development impact fees right now. I think we had somebody, anyway, they can. It has to be adopted in accordance with notice and hearing requirements. It allows a process for a developer to provide written individual assessment of proportionate shares. He can get written certification of the fee schedule for a particular project. It shall provide a provision for credits. If the guy's already built something that meets the definition and is a system improvement, not a project improvement, you shall give him credit for it. Shall prohibit the expenditure of funds on anything except those things, and we'll get to that part in a little bit. And this affordable housing piece is interesting. You can exempt the affordable housing if you make up the difference with another revenue source. So if your impact fee scheme says an increase in population, increase in housing units creates a demand for, say, police or fire, and you want to exempt affordable housing from it, then somebody has to pay that, because you still need a new fire truck, you still need the new cops, you still need X, Y, or Z. It shall provide a process for refunds, which we'll get to, timely processing applications for determination of fees, individual assessments, credits or reimbursements, and extraordinary impact. It specifies when an individual assessment application shall be permitted to be made and shall be early enough that the builder can seek permit without delay. It shall provide a provision for appeals, provide a detailed description of the methodology, and include a schedule of impact fees for various land uses per unit of development, then a right of the developer to pay a project's proportionate share as full and complete payment of the project. So he can pay a project's proportionate share. I'm going to pay it for the whole project. He has a right to do that. Shall not subject any development to double payment and shall exempt the following things: rebuilding the same amount of floor space, remodeling and repairing a structure which doesn't increase the number of service units, replacing a residential unit with another one on the same lot, provided it doesn't increase the number of service units, replacement of a temporary construction trailer, constructing an addition on a residential structure which doesn't increase the number of service units, and adding a typical accessory use like a tennis court or clubhouse. I go back to that definition of development. It's stuff that creates a demand on service. If it doesn't meet that, it's not eligible. A great example from another jurisdiction. They've got a cement pad and mix feed up on it for the cows to eat, to turn into milk. And they want to build a shed over the top of it so on the food or the cows or the people mixing it up. So they apply for a building permit. And the guy goes, oh, this many square feet, it's industrial use, therefore I need $13,000 in impact fees. Does that strike you as correct? Because it shouldn't. And the thing of it is, it doesn't, you can go back to the definition of development and say this isn't going to create any additional demand. And so the governing body can make a straight-faced argument saying that doesn't count as development. I'm not waiving the impact fee. I'm not exempting you from it. An impact fee isn't required because they're called development impact fees, and this isn't development. QED. It's almost too simple. So there's protections, and they're built in, and they're required to be built in. They shall include a process for dealing with a project which has extraordinary impacts. Extraordinary impact means an impact that is reasonably determined by the governmental entity to result in the need for system improvements, the cost of which will significantly exceed the sum of the development impact fees, result in the need for system improvements that are not identified in the CIP. So you can still have somebody show up with a nuclear Disneyland explosive gun factory and be like, wow, we didn't think of that. And this is, we're going to need a Zumba 7000 fire truck. And none of this was calculated. And you know that, and we know that. So you're an extraordinary impact. Here's your new fee. That's required, and it's allowed. Those are all more requirements. Now you've done it. What's next? And that's where you are. You're administering these fees. You have to provide a provision for credits for system improvements, but not project improvements. You have to earmark and expend them in a certain way. All funds shall be maintained in one or more interest-bearing accounts. Accounting records shall be maintained for each category of system improvements, and expenditures shall be made only for the category of improvements within or for the benefit of the service area and shall not be used for any other purpose. Here's our code for providing for individual assessments. So we have it built into our code as required. So in lieu of calculating, it's in tiny print, but I won't belabor the point. We have that process, and we're using that process, and we're doing it now. We have at least one developer who has submitted an application for an individual assessment. He did one before. He has one that's duplicated. We now have retained Colin as our CIP advisor, and he's able to check the math and the calculations of this guy's thing that he's presented. But we have a process by which if a person thinks that a fee exceeds that, it still counts as development. It will create an increase in the need for service units. But we have a way to recalculate that. That's fair. That's the important part. We can't go, oh, I like this development, so I'm not gonna charge them. Then that burden gets shifted to someone else. You have to prepare an annual report describing the amount of all impact fees collected, appropriated, or spent during the preceding year. You describe the percentage of tax and revenues other than impact fees that were collected, appropriated, or spent for those system improvements. They have to be expended within 8 years from the date they were collected on a first in, first out basis, except wastewater has to be 20. They may be held longer than 8 if there's identified a reasonable cause why and an anticipated date of expenditure that's not greater than 11. So 11 with a good excuse. Refunds, this is out of code. And you'll see here in a minute, Mountain Home has this plus. Shall be made upon request of an owner of property upon which a fee has been paid if service is available but never provided, the building permit is denied or abandoned, the governmental entity after collecting a fee fails to appropriate and expend it within the time period, the fee payer pays under protest and subsequent review determines the fee exceeded the proportionate share, has to be made within 90 days, and shall include refund of interest at 1/2 the rate. So again, another protection for ratepayer against a mistake or improper calculation.
Jeff, I've always had this question of the hypothetical in that 8, 11, and 20-year range.
Yeah.
Say we've collected on a project for 20 years that never comes to fruition in a particular category, and the developer that paid that impact fee is no longer in business, around, so on. What happens in that instance where we're due to refund those back?
It has to be made upon request of the owner of property.
So
if
that
somebody
is the
executes
onus.
that request, there it is.
Okay.
Where was I? We have to provide administrative appeals. A fee payer can pay under protest to obtain a permit in order to preserve the right to appeal and be entitled to a refund should it be successful. So you can come in and say, I'm going to pay this, but I don't like it. You're on notice. I'm like, okay, great. So we mark it with a little asterisk. And then he shows up with a recalculation or something. He appeals. Ultimately, it'll end up in front of you, and we'll figure it out. We also shall provide for mediation by a qualified independent party upon voluntary agreement by the fee payer and the governmental entity to address a disagreement related to the fee for the proposed development. And we split the mediation costs. This is bonus language that doesn't occur in the statute. This is another provision that we have. If the city discovers an error in the CIP that results in an assessment or payment of more than a proportionate share on any proposed development, city shall either adjust the impact fee to collect no more than a proportionate share or discontinue the collection of any fees until the error is corrected by ordinance. And then K provides if they're calculated and paid based on a mistake or misrepresentation, they shall be recalculated. So again, we have the mechanism for that, particularly when they show up and say, I want an individual assessment. Here's where I think you're wrong. We're like, oh, okay, we recalculate it. So, and this goes back to, again, this used to be a fire and forget process because nobody really paid much attention. Just billers would pay a fee, it was low, they didn't really care, and so it was just kind of perfunctory in the way it would go. Now, a lot of emphasis has been placed on impact fees. I learned more about them in the past 14 or 16 or 18 months than I did in the first 10 years preceding. I've been sitting in your shoes. I've been on an impact fee advisory committee. I helped calculate a way we could do these without charging them by allocating tax revenue. And House Bill 389 thrust these back into the forefront, because development, particularly in places like Middleton and Caldwell and Nampa, was occurring at such an explosive rate they needed to rely on them. So now they're getting scrutiny and now they're starting to get litigated because there was a whole bunch of, oh, it's close enough, and here we go. So what this city is doing and is doing wisely is really enforcing this iterative process where the Impact Fee Advisory Committee and the consultant and you folks as the governing body are continually evaluating and reevaluating these. Is the growth meeting the expectations? Are we on target to build this? Do we need to revisit it? And so because we're doing it each year, and not just every 5 years, and because there's a report every year, you're gonna keep your finger on the pulse of this thing and adjust these. And you're gonna make decisions, governing body decisions about whether some of these are worth it. Will we ever collect enough money within 8 or 11 years? Or as Mr. Mayor has said, is the, there we go, is juice worth the squeeze, right? There's a lot of squeeze going on, and what are we getting for juice? We're gonna bring an orange and have everybody cut it up and squeeze it into a glass and see. We have to provide means for collecting the fees, which can include additions to the fee for interest and penalties for non or late payments. We can withhold building permits or other approval until the fee is paid. We can withhold utility services until the fee is paid. And I think the way we do it is we just don't approve a building permit until the fee is paid. And we can impose liens for failure to pay. And we now have the new system where we are in an intergovernmental agreement with the county. Brendan and I were just talking about some of the mechanics of that, given the way the billing system works. We calculate the fee. They take the calculation over to the county, they pay the county and come back and they're good. So the county gets their money. So that's how they work. That's how to, I think I'm close to the end if I'm not. Other rights, the impact fee statute does not affect other rights. Private agreements are still allowed and protected. Nothing obligates an entity to approve developments that create an extraordinary impact. If we figure there's an extraordinary impact and we can't agree, we're like, all right, well, we're not going to approve it. You don't have to approve a development request that reduces level of service below minimum levels that are called for in the ordinance. You don't create an additional right to develop or diminish the power of a city to regulate orderly development, and eminent domain annexation regulations aren't affected. So, wow, 40 minutes. Did I go too fast? Did I go too long? Questions?
Jeff, with the recent passages of legislation this last session concerning personal right to build additional dwellings on their private property.
Ooh, excellent question.
And it appears that language exempted those from city oversight, including impact fees, but that,
No, that's
okay.
not correct. We have till February 27. We need to send welcome packets to the 105 new members of the Planning and Zoning Commission. That's the Idaho State Legislature that decided that they knew better than us in terms of how to adopt our ordinances. We have to amend our code to allow either an internal or an external accessory dwelling unit because we're a city over 2,000. So you're going to be facing that eventually. We'll draft some model ordinances for you on that. Starter home subdivisions are a different animal, but they're their own subdivision. But no, they're not exempt from impact fee requirements. They're not exempt from other parking codes. These accessory dwelling units are. So, yeah. There's other legislation that passed this session. One gives fire districts and ambulance districts ordinance authority. Which means that they can probably enact this. I don't know how they enforce collecting them. I asked my counterpart in Meridian, who's subject to Ada County Highway District that also assesses impact fees, at what stage and how they enforce that collection. It's not clear to me how that would work, but in any event, we may not need our intergovernmental agreement, or maybe we'll stick with it. Who knows? We'll see. But a fire district can enact an ordinance assessing development impact fees.
Jeff, thanks for putting this on. I'm glad to see we're getting some more direction from my early days with DIFAC, where it was not very well laid out. So will this training be provided to the new P and Z slash DIFACT as well, so that they're on the same page and have the same information?
Absolutely. That is, in fact, I just was asked, July 7th is the day I'm not going to a concert or camping. I'm going to be at the meeting doing
Appreciate your sacrifice for
administering
that, so.
insomnia medications. Any other?
Council, anything else for Mr. Schroeder? All right, Jeffrey, thank you.
Okay. I have.
Anybody need to stand up, stretch?
Well, we have another thing on the agenda that's me too.
I know. So, council, we're going to run down to executive session pursuant to Idaho Code Section 74206, subsection 1, subsection D, to consider records that are exempt from disclosure as provided in Chapter 1, Title 74, Idaho Code. We have a motion to go into executive session.
Mayor, I'll make a motion to enter executive session pursuant to 742061D.
Second.
It's been motioned and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. Councilman Harjo?
Aye.
Councilman Workla?
Aye.
Councilman McCarthy?
Aye.
Councilman Sanders?
Aye.
All right, you guys can stay here. We're just gonna run in there. You guys are live still? You're in charge, Sue.
Oh.
This is the real shit. All the way down the Bruno Highway. All the way down. But there's no road to get to it. We did, but that's a right here. The rest of it's just go straight down through. You gotta cross through. Oh, I'm shoving my. But oh yeah. Not that we saw. Tried to get some. Didn't see mistakes. It's pretty cool. It took a show Rachel. And they were didn't like the clean. Hey.
That's like my biggest
You can see the disc. They're gonna go back in. Awesome.
You don't have to.
Just kidding.
Everyone woke up.
You guys ready? Call the meeting back to order. We're gonna run down to recognizing persons in the audience. Would anybody like to get up? Please limit your comments to a maximum of 3 minutes. The purpose of this agenda item is to provide an opportunity for members of the public to address the city council on matters that are not listed on the current agenda and are within the subject matter jurisdiction of the municipal purview of the city. Comments may not involve personnel matters, legal disputes, or private non-municipal affairs of the constituency. Comments regarding zoning or land use may only be made during properly noticed public hearings.
City Council. My name is Kathy Brooks. I'm here this afternoon to talk with you about the rock well at Railroad Park. I've been in contact with Dan, he's the director of the Idaho Historical Society, and I've spoken with Alexa here at City Hall, attempting to get this put on the historical register. It seems like there's going to be a significant cost to have the staff at the Historical Society prepare the documents for the city, and that's not something I think is actually necessary. Alexa probably has a lot on her plate, and I can guarantee you in retirement I'm staying busy, and I'm not interested in the volumes of paperwork that's probably going to be required. Simpler, less time-consuming workaround, I think, would be to have a document drafted. I don't know what its title would be, a memorandum of understanding, I don't know, resolution, stating that the city does find this piece of history important and that it desires for it to be showcased and preserved. Further expressing that the city has no intention of harming it or removing the structure. I realize this might not be important to some people, but for some of us old timers that were raised here, it is kind of important. This will give those involved, especially the donor and the volunteers that will be doing the work, reassurance that the Railroad Park will be here for future generations. Thanks.
Thanks, Kathy. Anybody else?
Hello, happy to be here again. I'm Dara Corvus. I just got caught up on all of the city council meetings and the golf course advisory committee, and I have really just come to the conclusion that there's a lot of time and energy spent on the golf course, and it seems like it gets special treatment I just found out a little bit ago that the pool was closed for the city for Juneteenth, but not the golf course. So that kind of made me go, okay, something that the majority of people can use is closed during a holiday, but not the golf course. Either way, I'm not really here to talk about the golf course. I know I just said that, but I'm here about why don't we have a water committee for conserving water? Why don't we have this, like, sorry, I'm a little nervous, but I was told that we have to accept high density housing, but I don't think that means that we have to accept housing at the cost of our natural resource of water. It seems like at this point we're moving towards like this no return zone. I'm worried that Mountain Home will become a ghost town in the future. Like we have to think about we're raising kids here. We will not always be here, but future generations will. I've been reading the Elmore County Commissioner site, and they say pretty consistently how serious the water issue is. They're building a water line. They're trying to get ahead of it. This has been 4 decades in the making, and the only time that I've heard and seen anything being done from the city council and the mayor is these resolutions. But there's no like feet on the ground committee to really make bigger changes. I'm glad the impact fee spreadsheet, that was really nice. I took photos of those to look over a little bit more. So yeah, I'm just confused why we're not paying attention to the resource that's our survival. If that, that makes sense. We all need water, right? It's just kind of frustrating to see the city council spend so much time and effort on running a golf course for a few amount of people, when we have families here that would love to have a little bit more thought about their future. I plan on being here for many years to come, and I would love to see that effort. And I know a lot of people would. I know a lot of people would love to see the council fight against having more buildings put here, because that's our biggest drain, or at least one of our biggest drains. I'll just end it there. Thank you.
Thanks, Darren.
Else?
Hi.
Hello.
My name is Holly Blankenship, and I have just a couple of things. I just have concerns about the water and streets, the current state of them. I work at Stafford Physical Therapy over here, and every time there's a storm, right here at this 4-way intersection, there is a backup of water, which for a medical clinic is a safety concern. We have some disabled individuals that visit our clinic. And every time this occurs, I have to take a broom out there and put holes into the drain, because I call into the city to request that someone come out and clear the drains, because typically there's not a bunch of debris on there, but then when it storms, tons of stuff comes through and then it gets backed up. And what I see is I have to request it, and then I have to remind the individual, even though that I said it on the phone, I'm calling from Stafford Physical Therapy, a medical clinic. We'll put you on a list. And I said, okay, but I need you to escalate this, please, because this is a medical facility. Obviously, we have people coming in. And then I see some gentlemen come in a truck, broom it a couple times, take one shovel, put it in a bucket, and leave. And that, unfortunately, that doesn't do any good. What we need is some more work being done to clean these drains, get them up to par. Because not only do I see this right here in this 4-way intersection that is right here outside of City Hall, but is rampant across our city. And this is dangerous for, what we have is a high elderly population here. And not to mention just the amount of traffic, the increased traffic that we're going to be expecting with this influx of new people living here. I mean, I grew up outside of DC, okay? I have been downsizing over my life, so I get it. I get growing cities and things like that. And my husband was military, spent 20 years traveling all over. I get it. I understand growth and development. But what I would also love to see as a citizen here is for us to take care of the things that we see and know are priorities that need to be taken care of, while we are also focusing on what we want this community to become. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, all.
Anybody else? Come on down, huh?
It's probably gonna go like this. Taxation was a representation very much. Well, like that water fountain in the park there, I think it should be preserved too. I have friends that are volunteering. I would even help. They've laid rock on, built several fireplaces and stuff. It ain't gonna take very much concrete and sand to fix that the right way and address that. This other stuff with the water issues, just like what she said, I have lots of pictures of different places around town here. There's several ways I think of fixing them, but nobody wants to listen to what I say. I also heard a while back, you guys, somebody here said we were at 85% capacity on the lagoons. And we still have, still trying to build more. Water issues. I see a lot of water going out to like the solar panels and stuff that I don't know why the city water's going out there. There's a couple other places that could suck out to do it. I don't know who's getting paid what on which water, but I also think that Mr. Keller's been ripping you guys off. He cannot actually spend a little bit of time here and address some of this stuff without supercharging every time he comes over here, which I don't feel is right. You guys have been paying him since the 90s that I know of, if he's the same person, which I think he is. And I'm not totally against development, but what about these kids that are coming up, like she said? And you guys friggin' build it out to nothing. And if we do get some businesses here, where are these kids that might want to stay here with some kind of a business and have a house? They ain't gonna be able to afford it. Grandma can't even afford a house now. It used to be $400, $500, $600, $1,500, $1,600, thousand some dollars cleaning deposit. That's bullshit. This is plumb ridiculous. And also, between here and Boise, and even over here, they started, this has been going on for a long time. I don't know exactly how long, but from Anderson Dam, they're gonna put some irrigation across all over. Somebody scammed, I don't know the whole thing because people that told me that are dead now. But I also heard from other people, they started trenches across the desert in quite a few places for canals to water fields and stuff. And they took people's money and they never all got completed. It never all happened. And that is something bad. And then you guys are covering up, filling in things where there was some drainage.
Thanks, Don. Anybody else? All right, we're gonna run down to conflict of interest declaration. Has any councilman received any information pertaining to or otherwise any contact with any persons regarding any items on the city council? If so, please step forward, nature of contact.
Mayor.
Councilman Harjo.
Received several emails that regarding new business action items number 4 and 5. Cabrina Robertson, March, Stephen Feel. I believe that's it. Yeah, I think that's it.
Mayor,
Councilwoman Workla.
I received an email from Stephen File under new business, regarding new business number 4 and 5.
Mayor.
Councilman McCarthy.
I received an email from Stephen Feel, Carl Huffaker, Mike Miller, all regarding new business number 4 and number 5.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor.
Councilman Sanders.
Same.
Okay. Okay, we're gonna run down the consent agenda. You know what? I will. I will. Come on down, sir.
I'm Jeff Hobbs. I've lived here since '96 when I got stationed here. Retired in '03. Played golf with Decker a while back. Been a few years in the Winter League in a simulator. Anyway, that was fun. Um, yeah, I know. The golf course fiasco. Um, but one of the other major thing is, I know I saw the thing for the even odd watering days. Um, I used to be the Water Association president and run 58 homes off of Canyon Creek over there, managing the 2 wells we had. And when I did that, um, over 10 years, the water level had dropped 70 feet. And I've noticed the chlorine level is higher, and I live in a city off of 10th over here. Chlorine levels going out the roof. I guess the water is getting really bad. And pretty soon nitrate's going to be creeping in too. But yeah, don't water the parks and the stuff all day long for a couple hours at a time. That would help. I know Carl Miller, they wouldn't switch zones. I've driven by it twice. They're on for like 3 hours, same zone. That don't cut it. As far as the golf course fees, I think part of what he was reading for the fees, I've already improved the clubhouse, so you don't need to raise the fees. The course is fine. So if you guys raise the fees again, me and a whole bunch of retired military guys are gonna take our passes and go out. Probably a few behind me. And then I started the Legion tournament with a couple of guys, and we'll see about sending a couple other tournaments out there, and then you lose revenue there. But yeah, I don't know. It's just like I agree with a couple other folks. Quit building. You know, remodel the old hoopty houses here in town. Tear them down, rebuild stuff in the same areas. You know, the old subdivisions. And repair the roads off of some of the subdivisions down 10th. Spend that money there and put some rain sensors in the parks and the golf course so they don't water when it rains or right after it rains. You know, put some money, smart money there. But anyway, my time's about up. That's all I got. Thank you.
Thanks, Jeff. All right, consent agenda. Is there anything 1 through 6? Councilwoman
Mayor,
Workla,
I want to pull 3, please.
pull 3. All right.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilman Sanders.
more of a clarification than to pull, but on item 6, the grant,
Yes, sir.
do we know when that is estimated to be awarded?
I think oh gosh, I think it's October, Chris? Is it October?
If we get it?
Yeah.
If we get it, yeah. And is that cash only in the matching requirement, or is it in kind as well?
Ooh, good question.
$500,000, so it could make a big impact if we can provide some of that revenue to go to cash for it.
Yeah, it doesn't show in kind. Yeah, we don't
We used cash last time, right?
use cash last time. Yeah.
For the well. I'm gonna assume, but I'll get you an answer tomorrow.
Okay.
Cash.
It's not on the spreadsheet.
Okay.
Mayor.
Councilman McCarthy.
Clarification too, and hopefully I can make this short. Chris, on that same item, just kind of curious on the cost difference, because I know we've gone out previously, we had a higher cost on that, so I wonder if you can give a short, so just to understand why $5 million instead of, I think 8-10 or something like that nature last time.
Mayor, go ahead.
So the original Cell 10 plan involved Keller Associates design, involved raising all 3 existing walls, installing a 4th wall, and putting a larger discharge pipe from our chlorination system to the contact chambers, upsizing the contact chambers. Plan that we're proposing now is going to leave the walls the exact same height.
Okay.
We will build the 4th wall. We will put the liner in. We will not upsize the pipe, and we will not upsize the contact chamber, because at the end of the day, the flow is always going to be the same. So we're trying to cut those costs to get us to that point where we're able to actually build the cell the most efficient way possible. That's the goal of this.
Mayor.
Councilman?
And just one last one. Is Keller being included on this one versus the old?
Keller is not included on this one.
Okay, perfect. Thank you,
Their
Chris.
design is.
Well, their design we already paid for. So yes, that is. We're
Okay.
using that design. I want to make sure everybody knows that. We paid for it, we're using it.
Okay. Thanks, Chris.
Yep.
Okay, council, do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda pulling 3?
Mayor,
Councilman Harjo?
make a motion to approve the consent agenda as printed, pulling item number 3 and moving to new business.
Second.
It's been motioned and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. Councilman Sanders?
Aye.
Councilman McCarthy?
Aye.
Councilwoman Workla?
Aye.
Councilman Harjo?
Aye.
All right, we're going to run down to old business number 1, action item deliberation decision. Regarding amendment number 9, task orders 10, 11, 12, and 32 for water, wastewater, general engineering, and develop review, support, Keller Association Incorporated, and authorize the mayor to sign. Council. I think last one, this was we didn't put on an action deliberation technicality on the last agenda, pushed it to this one. What do you guys want to do?
Mr. Mayor,
Councilman Sanders.
I would move that we approve the amendment number 9 task the number 9 task orders for 10, 11, 12, and 32 for water, wastewater, and general engineering and development review support with Keller Associates.
Second.
It's been motioned and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the question. Councilman Sanders?
Aye.
Councilman Harjo?
Aye.
Councilwoman Workla?
Aye.
Councilman McCarthy?
Just going to state for previous conversations that I brought up in last meeting, I'm going to vote nay on this one.
Okay. A run down to approve set public hearing for July 14, 2026 regarding miscellaneous golf fees.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilman Sanders?
for the purpose of discussion, I move we approve and set the public hearing for July 14th, 2026 regarding the miscellaneous golf fee.
Do I have a second?
Second.
It's been motioned and seconded. Any further discussion?
Mr. Mayor,
Councilman Sanders?
this particular hearing has, this particular fee proposal has on it items of golf simulator use that have not yet been a matter of determination by the council, and we've not seen any proposal submitted by administration on what that would look like. But knowing that this is setting for a public hearing only, I'm going to remain in support of this for the rest of the stuff that's on there we know we need to do, knowing that when the hearing is over, we may find the need to change this document.
And these, and for the clarification, and these aren't fees for your daily rates and all that. This is just for something that might happen in the future. So Thanks, Councilman Sanders, for the clarification. It's been motion and second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. Councilman McCarthy?
Nay.
Councilman Workla?
I am always willing to hear from the public. Aye.
Councilman Harjo?
Aye.
Councilman Sanders?
Aye.
All right, we're going to run down to new business items removed from the consent agenda. That was item number 3. Councilwoman Workla, the floor is yours.
Yeah, so 2 questions. So on page 5 on the bill run, this is more just a question because I know we have our budget session tomorrow. Why are there SRO program line item? Wouldn't that be something that would fall underneath the school district? I just want clarification, I guess, for why we have that, because I saw first time, I guess, I mean, I realized there was a charge against or a payment towards that line item.
Sorry.
It's on page 5 of the bill run. It says 6100, ending in 6100. And the line items called policing SRO programs. Can I mean, and so then again, it just has Amazon Capital Services, Wells Fargo on there twice. Again, I know we used to get the credit card receipts for these type of entities for like Wells Fargo. Again, we are approving things that we really don't know what we're approving on. So why do we have SRO programs on there and what credit card receipts went underneath that, I guess? I am so sorry. I should have asked this ahead of time.
So we can pull those and get you that answer. Yeah.
Okay. And then but why do we have SRO, school resource officer programs, when I feel like that's something that should be underneath the school district? Just curious.
Yeah, come down here, Jay. Can you take that one?
Thank you.
So that community policing line is a line for all of our community events. So often things we hand out, any of the banners, things that we need for these events come out of that line. A lot of times those events are hosted by SROs, specifically ones catered to the kids. So that just kind of got put in there as part of the community policing line. It's not specific to their program. It's all those things of community policing.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then also, moving forward, I don't know if the rest of council feels this way, and this isn't regarding.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chief.
Can we get the credit card receipts? We used to get them, I know, a while back, to see what the charges were that we were approving. Is that something that we can get again?
Sure.
Okay.
I don't know how hard that is. I shouldn't say sure. Is that feasible? Yeah.
Thank you.
I don't know the steps to get them.
Sue, yeah, you were great. You would, whenever we would, I think it was mostly me and Councilman Harge that would ask for them, and then you would send them really quickly, and you were efficient at that. And I guess maybe if we can, for me, I would just like it as a standing operation to always see those, because there's a lot of credit card statements here that we're approving, but again, what are we really approving, right? Okay.
I'll make sure that she starts doing it.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay, now to my second issue. All right, so if you go to the bill run again, and you go to admin, let me find it for you. So on page 2 of the bill run, underneath Railroad Park Funding Co-op, I noticed for the first time this being on there, maybe it's been on there before, but it's a significant amount towards coastline equipment for rental charges and delivery fees for $7,900.25. So I sent an email to Tiffany, and I know you're super busy right now, so I understand you weren't able to get back to me, but I'll just read what my concern was. I understand that the city was providing in-kind work for excavation, demo site, and base course. So I looked up what was line item that council approved prior last November. for certain things for the railroad park. However, I look at in-kind work as being provided by the city's equipment and not being outsourced to other companies such as Coastline Equipment. I remember the argument that was made by others when this was being addressed last November. It isn't really costing the taxpayer if we already have the equipment / resources. But wouldn't it be fair to say when you pay to outsource the work, then this isn't considered in-kind work? So I'm kind of struggling with that because, again, I you know I've never been on board with this, and I voted against the in-kind work to begin with. But then the argument keeps getting made. Someone said to me recently, again, yes, it's not really costing taxpayer if we already have the personnel and we already have the equipment. But if we're paying over $7,000 to go to a construction equipment company in Boise, to me, outsourcing isn't in-kind work. So from the city. So can someone explain this to me so I can get on track to approve this?
I don't understand.
But
Go ahead, Tim.
Councilwoman Worklow, the piece of equipment we didn't have. We don't have it in our fleet. We're obligated to complete the in-kind work that we were tasked to. And if we used our piece of equipment, we risked damaging city equipment. So therefore, we had to rent equipment, which is a common practice throughout multiple budgets. We rent trenchers, lifts, multiple other things to operate. So that's what happened in this case, was to not damage our equipment. We rented equipment. Our task assigned.
Okay. And
Go ahead. Sorry. I was gonna ask. Go ahead.
no, and I understand that, like in the construction world, right? My husband's family was in forestry, right? And a lot of times with their business, they had to go out and, go third party. But again, this whole thing has been a principal thing with me since day one, and I made that known. So for me to approve this is going against my initial nay that I said back in November and December when the rest of council was pushing this through. For the $500,000 of in-kind work that we don't know where it's going to be capped at or where it's going to be end or when it's going to end. So this is just, again, a principle that I'm going to stand on this. I won't approve this. I know it needs to be paid, but again, I'm standing with my decision.
Was this the piece of equipment that had to go down the 14 feet?
That's part of it.
Okay.
So the equipment that we have wouldn't trench to the depth that was required so we could meet all the requirements for the ponds that we had to put in.
That's right.
The second piece of the puzzle was that those large concrete tanks that we had to put in, we don't have anything in the city that will lift those. So this was a dual purpose piece of equipment. And like Tiffany mentioned earlier, this isn't uncommon for us to have to rent. It's impossible for any municipality to have every piece of equipment possible for every job. So we discussed this and we rented it to make sure that we were, one, protecting our equipment, and two, we could get the job done.
Man.
Council, go ahead.
Yeah, and so the reason why I'm not fighting so much with the Idaho Materials Construction for like the rock and the sand and whatever is because that was itemized, right? That was itemized on the list. But this extra piece of equipment that you're saying that you didn't have, that you know you need, that was presented to council, right? That wasn't in the list that I saw.
Right.
So where does it stop?
Okay. Okay. All right, council. Anything else on item number 3?
Mayor,
Councilman Harjo?
make a motion to approve the bill run from 6:10 to 6:23.
Do I have a second? All right. Motion dies. All right, council.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilman Sanders.
I'm gonna move for reconsideration. This particular, to hold up the entire bill run for this single charge, I think puts the city at potential risk. And while this particular item, I could certainly make a strong debate about its validity one way or the other based upon everything else that's been associated with this particular endeavor. I do not want to see the city placed at risk on the rest of the bill run as a result. So I move for reconsideration.
Second.
It's been a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. Councilman McCarthy.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilman, I'm sorry.
just for clarification, this just makes this action item alive again. It is not saying that we are approving or not approving.
Oh.
I just want to get it back out here where we can take a vote on it again.
Okay.
So the motion is for the reconsideration.
Okay. There's a motion and a reconsideration. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. Councilman McCarthy.
Mayor,
Councilman,
for clarification,
you're not approving the,
okay,
you're not approving it.
okay, sorry,
Just
thank you.
As a diet of.
Yeah, appreciate it. Aye.
Councilman Workla,
Aye.
Councilman Harjo,
Aye.
sorry, Councilman Sanders.
Aye.
Caught me mid-drink.
Okay. All right. So
The item.
back to item number 3. Bills from consent agenda item number 3.
Mayor,
Councilman Harjo.
the motion for reconsideration is incredibly valid. The statement made along with that about putting the city at risk for not making payment on the rest of the bill run. I would encourage the council to come forward with some manner of moving forward the rest of the bill run if there's particular issue with certain portions. I think we can work around that, but
Council, let me do a proposal for you. If you don't want to pay this bill, just remember when we do get sued, my name goes on there. And then 2, this is my proposal. How about I ask the URA to see if they would fund that? Or actually, let me rephrase. Yeah, I have to actually ask the URA because we have contingency left in the. We had a meeting. Well, there was today. I missed that one, but I think there's a little bit of contingency left in the budget for said project. So if my proposal or my ask of you guys is propose or approve the bills minus this one, and let me go ask the URA if they'd be gracious enough to pay said bill.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilman Sanders?
under this particular item, line item, aren't these bills already sent to URA?
Are these from, yeah, I think they are, right? Are they? I don't know.
This was ours.
This one was ours?
This is all ours.
Mayor.
Council one?
Yeah, I agree. So I was struggling with that because Tiffany was really good at clarifying because there was 2 line items. One was for GUHO, and that was like, I might say it wrong, but I think it was like ends with 56 or something. And then that's the one that gets reimbursed through the URA. But anything that is 8655, that's always in kind work that comes from the city.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilman Sanders?
as I recall reading the GUHO project, there was almost 10% of the total project cost held in contingency. This would be a bill that the council choose to reject would be eligible to be paid out of contingency.
Mayor. Councilman McCarthy?
I guess I would like some more clarification, and I know this kind of put on the spot because I thought in our earlier discussions this year when we were discussing Railroad Park, contingency for said project was being used for the cost that brought that down. So part of the reserve of that contract, so I'm kind of curious to get a little more guidance on that, I guess, or clarification.
Clarification on?
Clarification if what's left. You had mentioned that there was money still left in the contingency with this contract, but I guess I'm from earlier discussions, I'm somewhat recalling that I thought contingency was all being used to help with the cost of the project, and that's why it was so quote unquote lower. So I would be curious to see what's left or what's actually there.
Okay. All right. All right, council. What do you want to do?
Mr. Mayor,
Councilman Sanders.
I'm going to move that we adopt the bill run holding out the coastline equipment bill number 305 in the amount of $7,095.25 at this point.
Okay.
Second.
It's been motioned and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. Councilman Sanders?
Aye.
Councilman Harjo?
Aye.
Councilwoman Workla?
Aye.
Councilman McCarthy?
Aye.
All right, we're going to run down to new business item number 2, findings of facts of Planning and Zoning Commission's recommendation to adopt the proposed amendments concerning the city code. Council, what do you want to do?
Mayor,
Councilman Harjo.
we happen to have our planning and zoning legal counselor with us tonight. This is a fairly straightforward amendment to both our code and allows us a lot more flexibility to correct errors in the original comp plan, recognize those changes and act much more swiftly than our code previously allowed. Would that be a correct summation, Jeff?
Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, so previously or currently our code says that you can't amend the comp plan more frequently than every 6 months. That was kind of a misinterpretation of the grant in state code that said that cities can limit how frequently people seek to amend the comp plan. Sometimes the comp plan amendments are internal, sometimes they come from outside. I want to amend your comp plan so that I can put a nuclear Disneyland theme park. So this just removes that limitation at all. In other words, you can have requests to amend the comp plan, and what you're going to be doing is amending the comp plan pretty frequently as a city, potentially. And not just for amending the capital improvement plan. You could amend it because you have you want to amend your zoning code. You're going to have tweaks to your zoning code. That comp plan has to reflect that. So this just gives you and the P&Z Commission the ability to amend your comp plan, which should be a living document, much more frequently than you're doing now. So it's an important tool and very necessary, particularly with respect to everyone's favorite topic, impact fees.
All right, council, what do you guys want to do?
Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve the findings of fact from P&Z's recommendation to adopt the proposed amendment concerning city code.
Second.
It's been motioned and seconded. Any further discussion?
Mayor.
Go ahead. Councilman McCarthy.
Jeff, help me understand any reason why that 6 months was there before?
I don't know for sure, other than the state code makes a reference that says you can limit it, but no less than or no more than every 6 months, something like that. You can't make it like, you can't do it more frequently than annually. So I think it was just maybe, I don't know why it was there, but it was, and it should go.
Sanders?
I'm going to be voting in favor of this particular move, given the recent elaborations on impact fees and the amount of flexibility we currently have in taking a look at those and making adjustments to them. Our document should allow us the ability to make those changes permanent and having more access, being able to go make those changes. I see to be bringing us closer to having the proper alignment between our existing code and where we're headed.
All right, there's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. Councilwoman Workla.
Aye.
Councilman McCarthy.
Aye.
Councilman Sanders.
Aye.
Councilman Harjo.
Aye.
I'll run down to item number 3, action item, deliberations regarding city staff's recommendation, plan of implementation of golf course operation and maintenance.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilman Sanders.
I do recall you promising us the plan. I looked really hard in the packet through all the pages, and I must have missed it.
Staff and us worked on some stuff. So with that, I'm going to turn it over so there hopefully won't be any biases.
Hope you don't want me to do it tonight.
Oh, you're looking at me. Are you looking at me?
No,
Okay,
he's not
so-
looking at you.
Well,
Because I don't have an idea or plan, or if I do, I'm certain you don't want to hear it.
Um,
Good, T.
Council, in fairness, I've worked diligently, with Chris and Jake and the mayor off and on last week, but as you all know, there are other things a little bit more time consuming than probably the golf course and the quantity of time we've spent in it. I'm not fully prepared, I feel, tonight to present to you a fair plan for the city, to implement. I can probably guarantee you'd be ready for your golf discussion on Thursday morning with its budget entirely. Fortunately, there's no action item in the budget presentation, so legal, I might need your help in that. And I don't know the timeline. Like, I'm assuming by the several motions that were made for clarity that night, that this all goes into effect in the operation budget of FY27, or are we trying to do some of it in 26 budget? I kind of need that too to help me plan.
So we had talked about that because we sat there and racked our brains against the clarity. And you know, when you go back, you're like, okay, is it October? Is it now? Are we trying to get it done today? Are we trying to get it done by October? Some guidance. We have ish, but I don't think it's to your expectation. So I think we're asking if we could put it on Thursdays, right?
Right now, there's no item for Thursday to make a
Miss-
decision on funding.
Yeah.
Right.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
if necessary, I would be willing to stand for a special council meeting on Thursday at the end of the workshop in order to present the action item. That gives you enough lead time to get it posted. Just tossing it out there. I'm trying to find a way to make it easier because this is one of those things that I would just as soon table this particular action item for lack of being able to look. I mean, if you present it to me right now and it were flawless, my head doesn't work as fast as when it did when I was 25, like most of the other parts of me now that I've gotten a year older. So I would like to go through it with some degree of speed that will make it stay in my head long enough to make sense. So I just assume not deal with it tonight.
Can we do it Friday? Do a special meeting on Friday morning, or you got to work?
I will not be working on this particular Friday morning. As long as it was before noon, I think I can make it work. I do have other commitments though at about noon on Friday.
Councilwoman?
Tiffany, did you state that this presentation probably should be presented before the golf budget presentation? Because right now they're talking it'll be after.
The reason,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, the reason is because depending on which way the council goes, there's revenues that we haven't even projected to put into the golf budget. So whether that be simulator, whether that be pro shop, if you guys decide to go a different direction, say, you know, we're just gonna stick with the RFQ, we're gonna contract it out, kind of that synopsis. So we tried to sit down and work all that out.
Mayor,
Yes, ma'am.
why don't we just do all the golf course stuff on Monday? Just take that piece out on Thursday, do the presentation Monday, because we already have it slotted out, right, as a public or a budget session day.
Go ahead.
I don't have an agenda for Monday yet. I'm fairly certain we're gonna go to a day 3. Councilman Sanders, totally down for Thursday, but I'm in here all day tomorrow with you guys. So I don't know if fairness, like, I'm taking the thing home and working on it, so, Monday, my intention, so you all know, I gave you a proposed timeline of budget presentations. My, right now, we have slated for the golf course budget to be discussed first thing Thursday morning with a fresh cup of coffee and everyone's brain charged. And I think we can work through that morning session with anticipating the revenue and the structure. However, I don't know if you all want only us to plan for fiscal year 27, or are we looking at funding some of the things now? That's the anomaly. I don't know. And so I need some of that clarity as staff members. We need to know more of a direction of how much, if we need to put effort into 26, or that's completely out the window with you guys. And now we're only looking at 27. So I'd ask for some direction this evening from the body.
And what Chris has put a lot of time in it. Tiff's put a ton of time in it. I think we all as a body have put a ton of time in this. So we want a direction here moving forward to make it not seamless, but seamless-ish.
Mayor.
So you're going to get me some stuff for the RFQ. I'm waiting on that, and so we'll get that. That's still going out. But go ahead, Council. I'm sorry.
I have the RFP actually, so I was going to give that out. So if that's one that we can push this meeting off so that we can have both items on there, and I think that would be great.
So
I guess I'd ask, sorry.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry. No, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Tiffany, I appreciate you asking for direction on the golf course for if we're looking at FY26 partially funding or if we're going just straight to fiscal year 27. I guess I'll just kind of speak my mind on that at least so that it's out there. I would be probably more in favor of a clean slate looking at FY27. So.
Mayor.
Councilwoman.
Yeah, either not touching 26 is my vote on that, if you want to know my opinion.
Councilman McCarthy?
Which again, I thought with FY27 is either whatever direction if we decide the city or if we just say we're going out with the RFP. Not RFQ, RFP. So yeah, that's all.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilman Sanders.
I feel constrained to say nothing further, having had two council members vote their, put what could be considered a vote out there. I'm hesitant to say anything further on until we get an issue in front of us and a motion that goes with it.
So,
Discussion.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Councilman.
Or a matter of discussion, and I don't want to drive any staff to an early retirement home, but I would love to see the A and B. Show me what 27 looks like as an ongoing process, and is there a way to get there? This is like saying we're going to build a new wing on a building that's just had a storm come through and collapse one side, but we're not going to start on that for another 6 months. The golf course is damaged. It was damaged when we lost the contractor, and we're still trying to go forward to provide the public, our citizens, that particular amenity, and we're hobbling along knowing we need to fix it, but we're not talking about fixing it, potential for fixing it right away. I would like to see that option if we do nothing more than say, no, we'll go ahead and hobble. I would, and I'm not, what I'm not looking for is I'm not looking for the Cadillac STS. Give me the Yugo.
That helps. That kind of direction helps us in the aspect of our thought process with Pro Shop or training facility or whatnot. So the Yugo.
You go do that.
So what I'm going to do then is, so can we put it on Thursday?
Well, Thursday at 7. adjourn now. Why is it
What time we're starting on Thursday?
8 a.m.
9.
or 9? Sorry, I come at 8.
I know you.
Sorry.
Well, if Paul was here, he would let us put anything on the
So
agenda.
here's, so
True.
is it, it's not, it's a special, or it's not even a meeting, is it? It's a budget workshop? Are you voting, if you're not voting on anything? So you have a special meeting with 24 hours notice, yeah, 7 PM Thursday. But 24 hours.
That's 48 hours.
48
28
hours.
for a special.
But 24 hours notice, yeah, you got time. If you want to do that, you can notice it up.
You're
Create a
asking me if
special.
I want to do.
Do they want to? Do you want to? Anyway, you can leave. And let's say you had already set an agenda, as long as you amend the agenda prior to the meeting and then vote on
Okay.
adopting that amended agenda, you're good.
Let's do it that way.
Okay.
Will we be ready?
I won't bother her.
Okay. So I'm gonna pull this till Thursday morning, because that's the first thing on Thursday morning, right? Okay. I'm pulling it. Okay, we're gonna run down to action on deliberation decision on proposed hydrant meter ordinance change in water rates. Councilman Harjo.
Thanks, Mayor, Council. A couple meetings ago, we had, I guess a meeting or so ago now, I proposed kind of an aggressive time schedule to tackle a number of topics regarding water with our community, some being water-wise uses and others being somewhat modernizing and housekeeping for our current capacity and current considerations for the residents and what they own in our infrastructure. So I've broken this down into three portions. This action item really has to do specifically with the hydrant meter ordinance change that I'd like to propose. As you know, there's pretty consistent use of city potable water through our hydrants, through the use of hydrant meters that is being taken out of the city limits and out of the city's area of impact that are not affecting the property tax implications of the city of Mountain Home proper. And I believe these to be not just extraterritorial use, but uses beyond what is potentially in the best interest of both the infrastructure and the city residents' potable water supply. So I have some minor changes that I'd like to propose to 7-1A-10 for hydrant meters. I've made those changes both bolded, underlined, and capitalized, so they're easy to pick out. Rather than having a City of Mountain Home shall provide water meters, that we may provide water meters, which provides us the avenue to decline the request based on the following sections. We could also, under this proposal, define that the use by contractors and others in locations only within the city's adopted area of impact. The thought behind this is that we could be considerate of the potential growth in annexed or to imminently be annexed portions of our surrounding county that are within the adopted area of impact, that are not within the municipal corporation limits at the moment, but be prepared for those to come into the city through annexation. And then further down, further defining the intent of the use of a hydrant meter, defining and specifying the location of the intended hydrant to put that meter on, how the water is to be used through a general description of use, whether that's construction, human consumption, agriculture, et cetera, and where the water is to be used. With that could be further defined even under the policy portion that we'll discuss here in a little bit. And I've kind of broken this mindset into, you have the ordinance language and then the supporting policy in the agreement that those who wish to rent a hydrant meter must agree to through both paying their $1,500 and making that agreement before they take possession of the meter. The concept here is pretty simple. City residents pay for water under the general provisions of our water rates. Development that has already occurred has paid water connection fees, water availability fees, etc. The use of hydrant meters, especially that in the extraterritorial sense, where water is being collected from the potable water supply and shipped well out beyond the municipal corporation boundary, that those uses, in nearly all cases that I can conceive of, those uses are not paying those connection fees, not paying the water availability fees, but paying a bulk water fee that, as it currently stands, I believe is unfortunately low compared to that of the general use as you would describe it in residential or local commercial use. So a hydrant meter is really surmised by that. The opportunity for us to kind of pivot how we use our ordinance language to protect the residents and their water supply and their water infrastructure. Moving down to the hydrant meter policy that would kind of follow this, the policy being kind of internal in the sense that through our ordinance language currently, hydrant meter users must obtain a connection permit from the city before they connect to a fire hydrant. Hydrant meters users need to identify the location, but that is also very vague in the sense that the location does not further define if it indicates a location of the hydrant or the location of use. It just identifies a location. So in a lot of instances, we might define a location as, well, which hydrant are you going to use to fill up your water truck, but not necessarily collecting the data on where that water is going or what it's used for. The hydrant meter connection application and the related materials should be amended to reflect the proposed change if the proposed language is adopted. Under that passage, any terms applicable to the connection permit is listed under 7-1A10. And I think this aspect of hydrant meter policy is kind of the cart after the horse, horse being the ordinance, and then the applicable changes to our internal policy and that agreement documentation. And that is the portion of hydrant meters for new business action item number 4.
All right, council. What do you guys want to do?
Mayor,
Councilman McCarthy.
I have a question for Councilman Harjo on this. Just for clarification, under your memo that you had sent out, those changes in bolds, under 7-1A-10, when you said the hydrant meters, bold at the bottom of the page of the intended hydrant, how the water is to be used, general description of use, construction, human consumption, agriculture, and where the water is to be used. Then I further down under your hydrant meter policy, talked a little more about location of water obtained by lawfully. So just for clarification, are you proposing in your amendment here that we're going to be monitoring where the water is going, if I understand that correctly?
Councilman Harjo?
Mayor, Councilman McCarthy, yes, that is the intent. To clearly define that the city can collect the intended hydrant to be used, specifically its location, how the water is to be used for which use through a general description of use in our application policy, and specifically where the water is to be used. In the instance the hydrant meter is used within the area of impact for a parcel that is not annexed within the city but is within the area of impact, and in that hypothetical use, the intent is to do some groundwork before annexation, and it is within the area of impact, then we would understand that as the municipality to be a compliant use under this potential language. If an organization came to utilize a hydrant meter and do their application and they describe a parcel that is outside of the area of impact, then we could fall back on the may provide water meters aspect of that and potentially deny that application if it's not in conformance with what the desire of keeping Mountain Home's water within Mountain Home.
There, Councilman McCarthy. I guess I appreciate the purpose, I would say, behind this, but I'm just curious because I'm running through examples, I guess, in my head, and when I start kind of thinking that we're basically talking about implementing policy, that we're picking and choosing where the water is. So when the Air Force Base had done their water line project, they had gotten water from the city. So are we not going to support the Air Force Base? Now, I know you've brought up about the solar fields, and that's definitely a hot topic right now. But again, it comes back to how are we going to sit here and define one's acceptable with not when, you know, say down the road ITD is coming through, which they do have their design numbers out there, or their numbers for the design. When they expand on the interstate to add a third lane, are we going to say, nope, can't get water from here? So I guess I would like to understand a little bit more of how the mechanism about this is going to be on picking and choosing where this water goes. I think, yeah, that brings a lot of questions to me, you know, especially when I see issues that come up when it comes to bulk water that essentially you'll see municipalities put a moratorium on bulk water. And so I guess my question is, quite frankly, you know, based on your research and everything, this seems to be this proposal because we're concerned about the water. When are we going to run out of water? Is my simple question. Because again, if it's something we're concerned, shouldn't it be, legally speaking, more defensible for something that applies to all versus specifically picking and choosing? I use the example of development. If we say we have no capacity for one project, but then we turn around and approve another one based off of some criteria that we do have some capacity for that, again, that kind of seems that we're starting to really start splitting hairs and putting ourselves in potential issue.
Mayor.
Councilman Harjo.
And I appreciate that perspective. This isn't picking and choosing. This is the intent here is to protect both the infrastructure of the people and the water that they've paid the connection and availability fees for over the years of and the decades of growth within Mountain Home. This is a broad enough scope to say any use outside of the area of impact may be denied. The uses within the area of impact, we're asking you for the location, the particular type of use, without providing any prohibition on that use within the area of impact. We're just asking for how is this to be used for construction, dust mitigation, human consumption, agriculture, or so on. There's an instance from 2025 where a local development that was due on the schedule to be annexed within the city, and I think it was something with their well went bad, and we as the city agreed to supply them water through a hydrant meter for billing and tracking purposes, and then that hydrant meter was then connected to their previously well supplied community that was progressively being added to the city's infrastructure through individual meters per domicile, and then would be connected then to our mains, and then as well paying their water availability fees, connection fees, and so on. This making sure that there's a broad enough scope that we can encompass those types of uses, which are frankly few and far between, but are legitimate, especially when it comes to the human consumption side. But also being specific enough that the city residents own their water infrastructure and get to dictate that their infrastructure and their water that they pay to use is not being taken outside of their municipal corporation limits, and making sure that those uses are more in line with what the citizenry would like.
Mayor,
Councilwoman Workla?
Chris, Brenda, what's your opinion on this? Since this is something I would imagine it'll be falling in your lane. And then second question is, how would this even be enforced?
Mayor,
Chris?
I do not know how you would enforce it because I'm not an enforcement agency.
Theft of utility.
Yeah, theft of utility would be the only way, but you'd have to have somebody that was tracking it, follow them out to wherever they're going. I mean, there's a lot of moving parts to that. And Councilman Harjo, I think you probably see that as well. I don't know that I'm willing to give my personal opinion.
Why?
I
Mayor.
believe.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I believe that we need to have some control on where our water does and doesn't go. If this was something that the city wished to pursue, I believe that in this presentation and when we do the public hearing on, there should be a process for a company that's outside of the area impact doing work that would impact to be able to come to the body and ask to be able to use that water. So your reference to ITD, if we were to set this up, we would say, if you're inside the area impact, tell us where you're doing, great. If you're outside the area impact, you have the opportunity to come and ask the council to be able to use that water outside of the area impact. I believe that's how I would present it.
Mayor.
I gave my opinion.
So Chris, you're basically saying if it's a group that's not going to use it inside the area of impact, they're going to have to come in and ask for a waiver.
Correct.
Mayor.
Councilman Harjo?
And I'm totally amenable to adding language that makes carve-outs for aspects of that extraordinary use, right? That might be extraterritorial in that sense. Again, to highlight the word proposal, right? Like throwing something out there to move this ball forward, where we're being considerate of the people's infrastructure. This consideration I've had written out for 2.5, 3 months. Over time, over that past 2 or 3 months here, some of that consideration has been kind of bolstered by the public feedback regarding bulk water usage through hydrant meters being utilized around our city. For some color context in this sense, a medium-sized water truck might be 5,000 or 6,000 gallons, and each trip of that water truck is essentially a one-to-one with a monthly household expectation per EDU of water usage at 5,000 gallons. So when you have semi-trucks making multiple trips a day to hydrant meters, you might be equivalent to 10 or more homes worth of water, like monthly water usage equivalent in that sense. And in some construction senses, we've seen, like the Base Water project, we saw a very frequent usage of hydrant meter. And again, those are the types of consideration, becoming community partners with an important project like the Base project. I could see the potential need for some extraordinary carve out. I've not provided that language here. Certainly open to it.
Mayor.
Councilwoman Workla?
Well, part of the community feedback that we received was, why is the city drinkable potable water being used outside of the city in the county for dust abatement. I mean, that was a huge concern. So I appreciate your efforts at addressing that. Because as a city council, we take care of city first and then maybe look outside of the city. But our main priority is the city always. So my concern though is how do we enforce this? But you're right about the ATD thing, right? If they start adding on the lanes there, I could just see them coming in and just taking all this water. So if there is a mechanism I hate extra red tape, as I said before, but if there is a mechanism to maybe keep an eye on it, right, of how much is going out, because when that project is coming, that's a very good point. When that project is coming down the line, how much are they going to use or want to use? So maybe should we table this and see what verbiage you might want to rework on that? Because you said you volunteered yourself, right, to amend your proposal?
Mayor,
Councilman Harjo?
I mean, I'm perfectly fine to accept proposals from the rest of the council on this as well. Like, I've gotten us something to consider today. Again, I'd be happy to hear any suggestion and include those proposals into this proposal. Water is clearly an important topic within our community, both within the city and the greater Mountain Home community. So I'm open to accept any other considerations for verbiage in that regard.
Councilman Sanders, sorry.
Just to give me some background and fill in information. If we're currently, when someone comes in and wants a hydrant meter, what's the process?
Mayor, it's a pretty simple process. They jump on the city's OpenGov platform, they fill out an application, they pay the $1,500 deposit and their first $50 for the first month's rent. They get approved through the city staff and they come out to Public Works and pick up a hydrant meter. Very basic.
And just off the top of your head, swag, how many meters are checked out?
12?
A month?
No, they're not checked out on a monthly basis. Currently, we have, I believe, 12 out. We've got one that's been out for, I don't know how many years. They don't, easily. They don't bring them back every month. We get readings off of them every month. But for example, Corey Barton Homes, they've had theirs for years because they've been building in town for years. Some of the contractors in town, C2 Construction, they've had them forever.
Okay, so we already have a process in place where they're making an application, adding the additional information of where the water's to be used. Is that going to present any particular hardship in the process?
Not for me, it won't.
Cool, thanks.
I wrote the original applications, I can modify.
Mayor,
Go ahead, Tiff.
it will, because in the instance of the applicant has had the meter for 12 years, that water's been used all over Elmore County and in the city of Mount Home. And so every time they'd have to go in and refill a question, and not every time are we alerted when that occurs. Does that make sense? So capturing that data at the start is easy. But 5 years down the road, if he's no longer on the south end of town, we don't have the data. And then we're going to rely on the contractor.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilman Sanders?
is there currently any tracking or requirements for them to report when they leave a particular hydrant with that meter and go to another one when they change work locations?
Negative.
You got any more of those air tags available?
I don't think we can want to get in that business. Sorry.
I will tell you that I have seen people try to fill up, and I call the cops without that water meter. And then what usually happened, it was a construction company from Boise doing something out at the Chevron, and police came. I think it was Cobos maybe at the time. Somebody came, and they were ready to impound the water truck, everything.
We just stopped. One was filling up out at Public Works, and we didn't think he had a hydrant on it. And I was with him, and we pulled over, got out, and the two individuals had a hydrant and were legit. They had a meter.
But in the proposal, as Scott is, or Councilman Harjo has given it to us, It's asking them to identify a particular hydrant they're gonna be attaching it to. How are we gonna track that if they move that meter?
That's a good question.
Yeah, the meter's mobile. They rent the meter from us and they move them all around. So it's not guaranteed that they're filling up on the same hydrant.
I'm, Mr. Mayor,
Go ahead.
I almost hate to say this, but it's almost like we're going to achieve the goal that's intended. We may have to consider increasing the cost so that it covers the cost of city staff to install that meter on the particular hydrant identified and seal it. With a, you take it off, you break the seal like your electric box. Bust the seal and they're coming after you. Just as we're talking about, if the goal is to identify where the water is and where it's going and how often it goes somewhere, take a look at the entire process of how it's being used now. Because right now, it sounds like, give me a meter, I can hook up anywhere. And if you can catch me in a month, you can find out how much I used.
Councilman McCarthy?
I think there's two, it sounds like there's two kind of issues we're discussing here. It sounds like Tiffany was saying that there's some incidences of nobody hooking a meter up and just going up to the fire hydrant and pulling water out, correct?
Go ahead, T.
Let me correct. There has been contractors that come to town that don't have a meter and hook to a fire hydrant and they take city water. And we have got them for theft of service before. And so we receive complaints here within us. We go and look and verify that a meter has in fact been checked out to Sawtooth Drilling and they are in fact filling up at that meter.
Okay, so I think that's the one side. I guess I'm trying to pull back here because I know there's been discussion about, residential cost for water versus bulk water. Are they truly paying what they are? And when you read, I'm going off of the resolution that we previously had in February, that this body decided not to raise the water rates for residentials and bulk water. But I would highly encourage this body, you can double check my math, when you do, based off that resolution, 200,000 gallons, a resident would pay $451.49, but the bulk water user's paying $1,196. So when I see this, I think it should be very clear that when they are starting to pull that much water out, we can see the curve that, and Chris, if you've done any math on this or you can help verify this, they're paying 2.5 to maybe 3 times what the resident is paying. So I don't think we need to necessarily, I want to make sure that that's understood, that we have those numbers. I'd be curious to see, those numbers when it comes to the bills. And Chris, not to put you on the spot, but is that getting deposited into the water maintenance fund or the water availability? I believe it would be water maintenance, correct? Yeah. Okay. I know with our last city council meeting, I think a number was thrown out about last May, Chris, we had 4 million gallons close to it used. So when I look at 4 million gallons at $5.98, we're talking $20,000+ that bulk water is paying. So I'm curious if we're going to go down this path, that I'd like to see some more financial pieces to this, because again, I think that should be dispelled very quickly, that bulk water is not paying this less than what the residents are doing.
Mayor.
I thought the bulk water rate was like point.
Can I,
Go ahead,
That's
yeah.
what, do you mind?
Go ahead.
So I'm not sure what number, but for the current resolution that was passed a year ago, it's less than a penny a gallon that bulk water pays. So for 10,000 gallons, they're paying $100. That's the math. I'm not sure what number you were using for your math.
So going off of, Mayor.
Go ahead.
So going off the resolution that we had previously this year, do residents or bulk waters pay by the gallon, or they pay by the 1,000? Because that's how you had the residential or the resolution for this one back in.
Let me pull up.
And I'd be curious. I think Jeff has been patiently sitting over there. made eye contact, and I wasn't sure if you wanted to jump in
I
on
don't have
something,
the old
Jeff.
resolution with me. Do you have that, Tiffany? Do you have the old resolution?
Mayor,
Councilman Harjo?
I do have the 2025 resolution, and February's denied resolution. I as well am really curious about the numbers, because even just taking a one-to-one comparison of general monthly service charge for waterworks, taking $31.98 is the current rate that residential pays under the 2025 approved resolution, 31.89 per month for up to the first 5,000 gallons, and you do a one-to-one comparison with bulk delivery, the charge for miscellaneous bulk delivery of water to be hauled by the purchaser shall be $5.98 for each 1,000 gallons of water, which equates to $29.75 for the equivalent amount of water. And thusly, bulk water delivery is coming at a lesser rate than the general usage per EDU when you do a comparison of 5,000 gallons to 5,000 gallons. So I'm curious where that figure comes from, because it's not supported by what is currently enacted from 2025.
Councilman McCarthy?
Chris, when you had a bill, you had a public records request for a bill that came out just recently. It's been circulating around for 198,000 gallons. So when the bulk water, are they getting paid by the month, or are they getting paid by, or excuse me, are they paying for the month, or are they paying by each truckload?
A month.
So if they have 7 or 8 trucks a day at, we'll say 5,000 gallons, they're going off of the month. They're not going off of 598. So there's sorry, let me go back.
I understand
What I'm saying is, you have the citizen, the resident who's paying their monthly rate. The bulk water, they're not paying by the truckload, they're paying by the total capacity they used for the month, correct?
Correct, through the meter.
So as Councilman Harjo pointed out, the 598 might be for that one truckload, but that's not how it's being calculated. It's calculating by the total of that month, thus 200,000 gallons.
It's definitely not being broken down by the truckload.
So then that 598 per load, as Councilman Harjo is saying with that calculation, that's not necessarily.
Mayor,
Go ahead, Councilman.
that's not what I said. What I said is the bulk delivery rate currently shall be $5.98 for each 1,000 gallons of water. So the comparison here is that 5,000 gallons under the general rate of $31.89 is greater than 5,000 gallons of bulk delivery, which is $29.75 when you calculate $5.98 for each 1,000 gallons. The bulk delivery is paying less when you make the comparison of per 5,000 gallons. And that's I think the point here is that bulk delivery, which is primarily a commercial use, is paying less than what the residents in the 6,000-ish connections that we have, majority of those being residential. Bulk delivery is paying a lesser rate and has never paid connection or availability fees for those uses, even though they're using a significant amount of water for those projects.
Mayor.
Councilman McCarthy?
So again, Councilman Harjo, you're saying that the 598 is per 1,000 gallons, but as Chris just stated, we're not billing them off of that first 5,000 gallons individually billed. They are being billed off of the 200,000 gallons at the end of that month. Correct, Chris?
Correct.
So the resident, when they use 200, we're not paying, excuse me. So the resident, if they use 200,000 gallons, because again, which it's just a comparison.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying is that,
Bad day for a resident.
well, we have the water leak part of the resolution, so. But to say that they're not paying in the beginning is kind of I would say an incomplete story, because again, we're not charging them by the truckload of 5,000 gallons. That's the initial, where at the end of the month, they're charged off of 200,000.
Mayor,
Councilman Arjo.
all water rates are based on the volumetric consumption. So in,
You have the rate, existing rate resolution.
would you guys like me to send that
I need to see
so everybody has it?
the existing water rates.
So yes, in the comparative, the rate when you scale 1-to-1, 5,000 versus 5,000, that is the 1-to-1 rate of comparative if the general user is paying less per the same volumetric value as bulk delivery, and that is a truth that bulk delivery costs less than the general service charge for the same volume of water. Now, of course, the volume is going to increase with bulk delivery, but that is the point, that regardless of that volumetric value at the end of the month, the per 1,000 gallon rate, or to make 1-to-1 at the 5,000 gallon rate, the bulk water usage is pacing behind the general usage in its rate. So at all costs, if you took the same volumetric value and converted that to the number of EDUs at 5,000 gallons, your bulk water rate will still be generating less revenue than the general in its application. I believe Jeff has something to say.
Jeff, would you like to say something, my friend?
Just a little bit. First of all, we need a whiteboard, but until we get one.
You have one right there.
Yeah, technically.
I don't think so. So I heard several comments ago, legally speaking, and so I've got a few legal comments about this. First one is the statutory obligation of the city for this water fund to be kept whole. And I think a couple of you have heard me possibly scream about this. So you have to charge, you're obligated by law to charge what you need. So to account for depreciation, to account for replacement costs, including the inflation of the replacement cost, including the cost of keeping people around, pumping water, the electricity costs, pumping the chlorine into the water, replacing filters and all of that. That's your fixed cost. Then you have variable costs about how much water you pump. You're required by law to charge the monthly rate that covers the fixed costs, and then you can have a variable rate, which you've been discussing back and forth omits a gigantic thing, which is like your income tax, the incremental charges that increase above the first 5,000 gallons. And so there's scaled charges that are designed to be punitive for people like me who have a replica of the Oregon coast in their front yard. So you're supposed to pay way more if you go beyond 30,000 and 45 and so forth. And so no one's making a meaningful comparison, but that's a separate issue. The first issue that came out the chute was, can we punitively charge people to take water out of the city? Absolutely. Those people are not paying. They're not paying. The part of the monthly charge is the fact that you get to have water delivered to you so that you can fight fires, so that you have a water delivery system and you can pay the bond or a loan. So if you have a revenue bond or a revenue loan in particular, you're required to charge enough money to fund that and fund all the replacement costs. So a bulk water user is not part of that system. They're diminishing your capacity, and they have the potential to evade a connection fee by simply just coming in, because they're not then buying into the investment in the system. And so you may want to scale this so that you can charge people the equivalent of a connection fee at the outset when they get the hydrant, if they're going to exceed a certain monthly amount. Those are all policy questions. But legally speaking, you absolutely can pick and choose. Most times, when cities want to say, we're going to extend a water line outside the city limits, could we please? Great. You consent to annexation upon contiguity, because that's the thing we want. We want people to annex to our city to provide a bigger tax base. But if the water's simply going out to a cow farm or going out somewhere and we're never going to see them again, maybe you don't, maybe you do. I think that speaks to the fact of having a process whereby you permit certain ones that are outside the area of city impact, where you have people using it for the benefit of the city and for ultimately for the benefit of the water system. You may want to do it, but charge them whatever the market will bear, and maybe it'll make it worthwhile for them to go dip out of the river if they can do it legally, or a pond somewhere. I just watched a helicopter scoop, I don't know how many thousands of gallons of water out of the sand. Yeah, I don't need that. So you, what you need to do though, for that discussion about who's getting over, or if they're not, if the bulk water, there's a very easy answer, and it's just math and a whiteboard. We could settle in a couple of minutes. I don't want to do it right now, but here's you need to do it. Can you put this back on? It's 3389. And so he's correct that you get the first 5,000 gallons for that 3389. Plus you get Chris, the rest of the city water staff, and 5,000 gallons of water. And then you have to pay an additional sum of $1.89 for another 1,000 gallons up to 45,000. Then you're going to calculate between over 45,000, 224 per 1,000 gallons of water. So run the math for the 200,000 gallons doing that scheme to see what a resident would pay to burn 200,000 gallons of water, and then do it with the straight $5.98 for 200,000 gallons of water, and you'll know.
Happy to share that right
easy.
now.
What's that?
Be happy to share it right now.
And you're using the 2025
One
resolution?
that we had back in February.
No, not the proposed one, the one you were using today. The one if you pay your water bill today, that's what I'm looking at right here. That's the only meaningful comparison. It's what we're doing right now. $5.98 for per 1,000 gallons, and a minimum charge of $10.73 per load. So if I just come get a little tank of water, anyway, back to Councilman McCarthy's original point. You absolutely can pick and choose. You absolutely could write this ordinance such that you can provide a cost-benefit analysis for every guy that wants to truck it out of the city. And I'm happy to help tweak this thing, either with Councilman Harjo's or anybody else's input to make it. But you have a legal obligation to make sure that you're not subsidizing it, and you want to probably legally make sure that the thing that's sending it outside the city isn't a burden on the existing users, and that they're not just paying their way, but they're throwing you a little bit of profit. Many cities have a provision whereby not only do they require consent to annex upon contiguity, they charge double the connection fee and double the water rates to deliver water outside the city. And that's lawful.
Mayor.
Councilman McCarthy.
Yes. Double, I do. Not off the top of my head, but I can show, yeah.
I'd like to see
It's
some.
double. Yep.
Okay, council, where are we at on number 4? Because I'm
Mayor,
Councilman Harjo.
again, this is an initial jumping off point for a proposal. There's the common thread between the hydrant meter and the bulk water rate. There's some overlap in the context. Action item number 4 is really to propose potential hydrant meter ordinance change language proposed around that aspect of it. And then the action item number 5 that we haven't gotten to in new business has more to do with the resolution as it's evolved from the February offering to today. So they're very closely related, but 2 separate actions in that sense. So the hydrant meter part, I am, again, I'll say I'm perfectly amenable to figuring out some language that provides that extraordinary use. But in the interest of protecting the people's infrastructure and our source water protection, this is the starting point for my proposal.
Mayor,
Councilman Workla.
when you gave your presentation, Councilman Harjo, you said that this action item here is putting the cart before the horse. Explain that further, what you mean.
Mayor. No, I was saying putting the horse before the cart on this particular part because
I'm sorry. Okay.
the hydrant meter ordinance language is separate from the bulk water rates while they're intertwined in a lot of manners. The use of hydrant meters is a separate topic under this than the bulk water rates that are found in the resolution. So we're like trying to like keep them separated
Okay.
because they are independent thought
Okay, thank you.
in this sense.
So council, do you have any other additions, subtractions, thoughts on action item number 4?
Mayor.
Councilman Harjo?
I mean, I'm happy to continue working on this as a concept. If the council is interested in either helping with that or entertaining the proposal to move to the next phase of having legal assist with any further language or refining language or adding language regarding some of the aspects presented, I'm happy to continue taking that on, but also welcoming anybody's feedback on what they might like to see language-wise.
So council, is this something you want me to grab from Councilman Harjo, send it to you guys? You guys put your additions, subtractions, get it back to me. I'll send it back to Councilman Harjo and have legal also look at it. Or Councilman Harjo, you're running with the boat already, so.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilman Sanders?
yeah, I'd like to get an opportunity to pitch a couple ideas to Councilman Harjo on the language. And then perhaps we could consider coming back with a proposed document for further examination by the council.
Mayor.
Councilman Harjo?
Should we best run that through legal, just like so we're not having.
Right.
There's no concept, like no risk of having open meeting law. We can just kind of independently.
Send me what you got. He'll send me something. Hey, did you think of this?
So put them through you.
Yeah.
Let's do that.
Okay. Councilman Harjo, send that out to Mr. Schroeder.
Will do.
He'll disseminate it out to the rest of council, and council, please grab it and see what you'd like to add and take out, maybe do something else, and then get that back to counselor, I guess, Schroeder, and we'll have it on the next meeting.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilman Sanders?
just a quick clarification. Scott, we keep that legislative markup format? Underline and strike through?
Mayor.
Councilman Harjo?
Sure. I'm perfectly fine with that. I was just trying to make those so they didn't get buried in the language. I just kind of copied and pasted from the ordinance, blasted that in there, and then any additions to just try and highlight what the change was. So if you want to follow the same format, that's great.
And then action number, correct me if I'm wrong, Councilman Harjo, pull number 4 really quick.
Mayor.
Councilman Harjo?
Yeah, if the council is amenable to this moving forward, through legal and refining language, I'd be appreciative.
Okay. We'll run down to action item number 5. Councilman Harjo?
This is where the topic of bulk water rates and the previous and hydrant meter do kind of have this overlap. Bulk water rates, as they were presented to us in 2025 and adopted in 2025, as they stand today, differ from the offering in February of 2026, which also differ from today's offering. In working with pertinent city staff on a resolution to bring forward for consideration, making sure really that the bulk water rate paces ahead of the general usage. The bulk water rates are commonly tied to new development or territorial or extraterritorial uses and are assessed reasonably and fairly under the resolution here, but we have not made significant headway in this realm in quite some time. Trying to make reasonable consideration that bulk rates and users have not, or just by the nature of the ordinance language, can't be assessed such fees as water availability or connection because they're not making they're not annexing a piece of property. They're not coming onto the system in the sense that we can assess a per EDU valuation to new development in that sense. This is not a new home or a new brick and mortar commercial building coming on online, but they are consumptive uses at a pretty extraordinary rate. And at times per trip consume more than single residents or multiple residences would utilize in a month for that concentrated use. So really the intent here, and I've in the packet, I copied and pasted just for example's sake, the water service availability fees as codified in 7-1A-7, where a new connection to the city would be paying a water service availability fee of $2,450, and a bulk water user who is exceeding multiple households worth of use potentially per visit to bulk water, whether that's through a hydrant meter or the bulk water station, that $2,450 is not applicable to that use, and thusly it's from my position putting an undue burden on residences and existing commercial uses within the city that have paid those water service availability fees, and thusly I think applying an increase to bulk water rates is appropriate. What Mr. Schroeder referenced earlier is captured in the 2026 offering that is in front of you now for a resolution that does have a tiered effect. Get back to that. Oh gosh, which one did I open it under? Sorry, I lost my tab. Commercial rates. Just pull it up here. The water rates as for bulk delivery currently stand at $5.98 for each 1,000 gallons. Shifts significantly to be $50 per 1,000 gallons of water with a minimum charge of $11.26. And then for bulk water purchased over 50,000 gallons in a month, the rate shall be $70 per 1,000 gallons, following a format similar to that, offered in concept by our attorney.
Mayor.
Councilman Workla?
So correct me if I'm wrong, but this resolution talks more than just bulk and delivery and water leaks. Under general, you want to go up on the service charge per home as well, correct?
Mayor.
Councilman Harjo?
Correct. There is a general rate increase from the 3189 from the 2025 adopted resolution to this one at 3345, which is an increase of 4.891% for each additional 1,000 gallons beyond that initial 5,000. The current rate from 2025 is $1.81 per 1,000 gallons. The increase under this would be $1.90 per 1,000 gallons for a rate increase of 4.972%. Per 1,000 gallons went over 45,000 gallons per month usage. Our current rate is $2.24 per 1,000 gallons. The proposal moves up to $2.35, which is a 4.91% increase amongst those. The bulk water rate is a significant percentage increase, again, to ensure that the commercial uses and that burden of the system does not fall to the people, but falls to the commercial use, is a 736% increase.
Mayor.
Councilwoman Workla?
So thank you for stating that. Yeah, so back in January, council denied increasing water rates per household. But you're bringing it back 6 months later. Usually this is addressed annually. As well as I noticed that you're keeping it at 4.9%, so it doesn't go to a public hearing, because anything over 5% goes to a public hearing.
Mayor, sorry to interrupt. Councilwoman Workla. Mayor,
Councilman Harjo?
this will have to go to a public hearing as a resolution
Because
because of the bulk. But the entire resolution would be encapsulated under the public hearing.
So, Mayor,
Councilwoman Workla?
I won't be on board with the water increase. I'm standing my ground with what I decided back in January for this year. I need to evaluate the bulk delivery and the water leaks, though, percentages. But that's where I stand currently.
Mayor,
Councilman Harjo?
Councilwoman Workla, with that consideration, and I understand your principled standpoint on that aspect of it. If a resolution that addressed specifically the bulk water rate came forward and did not have a general rate increase, would you be of the same opinion?
Yeah, because, Mayor,
Councilwoman Workla?
because, like you said, it would be over the 5%, significantly over the 5% increase, then it would create a public hearing, and that's what I base a lot of my decisions off of, is a public comment, so, yes.
Mayor,
Councilman Harjo?
is that a yes, that you would be
Yes,
okay with bringing that back under its own?
yes, just the bulk and the water links. B and C, are you talking about?
Yes.
Yeah, so if you take,
Councilwoman Workla?
Sorry.
if you take A off, yes, the general, I do not want to increase the household increase, but to bring back for a public hearing for bulk delivery and water leaks, yes.
Councilman Harjo?
I not super opposed to that. The bulk water rate is my target of action in this thing. I would be okay with bringing that back as a standalone. Curious what the rest of the council has thoughts on.
Mayor,
Councilman Sanders?
I'm taking a left-hand turn here, folks. Got a couple of construction issues with paragraph A. And I need to make sure I'm drawing the right conclusions. The first sentence under general talks about the sum of the fee, $33.45 per month, up to the first 5,000 gallons of water, and then the additional sums. The last sentence in that paragraph says the minimum monthly charge shall be $33.45 per month per equivalent dwelling unit. If $33.45 buys me up to 5,000 gallons of water, but my dwelling's been assessed 2 EDUs, I'm going to be charged the 63. Am I getting 10,000 gallons before the rate increases? Okay. That being said, let's move on to B, because earlier we had a bit of discussion of this when it came to the metering. I would love to see this paragraph readdressed to get rid of any reference to a per load. They're getting charged perhaps the $50 for up to the first 1,000 gallons, and every 1,000 gallons afterward might be another way to rephrase that. But then to talk about a minimum amount per load when we're not tracking per load and don't have a way to track it, seems to be adding difficulty to what could be really straightforward.
There is no reference to.
The
Mayor.
$11 and
With a minimum charge of $11.26 per load.
Oh, I see. There you go. Sorry.
Agreed. We could probably do some wordsmithing on that aspect of this. Chris, I gotta ask you, in our original intent to be able to preserve the capability, right? Like, so like say I want to go camping and I have an IBC tote that's what, 300-ish gallons or whatever, and I want to take that fresh water with me to live off grid for the next 2 weeks while I go elk hunt this winter, right? And be able to have enough for my encampment in that, that regardless of the fact that I'm well under the 1,000 gallons of water, that we're trying to preserve that capability of the smaller bulk usage, still having a minimum per load. Was that, you kind of tracking where I'm going?
Sorry, Mayor.
Go ahead.
I am tracking what you're saying. But from my point, I absolutely agree with Councilman Sanders, and eliminate it makes sense.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mr. Mayor and Councilman Harjo, in C, of course, if you're going to not use the rate increase in A, you'll need to take it out of C as well. I will make one final comment about a rate increase. I voted against the prior resolution. I've had evidence presented to me where we are in desperate need of starting to plan for an 18th well. I've got citizens that have sat here in front of us and talked about being good stewards of our water and protecting our water and keeping our capacity up. How we go about putting that 18th well in comes from part of the fees we collect, as council has just told us, that we are taking some of those costs for those infrastructure from these fees. So that being in mind, what the appropriate fee might be is never going to be stable in my mind, because inflation is not stable. The cost of construction is not stable. And as much as I don't necessarily want to pay any more than what I'm currently paying, even though I've cut my watering of my lawn back to 2 days a week, it's still a bigger bill than I'd like to pay. I do know if I'm not paying that bill and we don't get that 18th well, then either us or our children or our grandchildren are going to be watering 0 days a week because we won't have it. So in the same time we're trying to get, because of our, with growth and everything else, I believe folks need to realize a reasoned approach to an increase is going to be a necessity, unless you're wanting to go backwards in our ability to keep our level of service up. That's just my comment.
Mayor,
Council.
you know I'm gonna have a comment on that one. So, for 2 years, I agreed with the increase because Tiffany even told me chlorine would go up 5%, right? So yes, you have to have chlorine in the water. You have to pay for that increase. However, this year, I believe, for me, and I thought it was for the rest of the council except for Councilman Harjo, was again based off the principal thing, where when you're using resources and personnel from the water department and the wastewater department for that railroad park, then our management of funds and our priority of funds are skewed.
Mr. Mayor.
Councilman Sanders.
And with all respect to the position you just put out there, I see that as an administrative issue. I see that as a place we don't need to go to, and it cannot supplant our responsibility for what goes on next year and the year after that, and what we've got to do to make sure that our residents have what they need. Yes, I voted on that principle earlier last year as well. But I knew then in my mind at that time this was going to come back. And if we did not take action on this again, because Railroad Park will, if it stays on track, will be finished in another 2 months, if that. Done. Then everybody goes back to doing what they were doing. We'll tally up the cost and we'll see who pays the price at the tail end. But in the meantime, the rest of this year, we've got to figure out how we're going to make sure we have water supply for the next 3 to 5 years going ahead. And that's going to come at a cost. And if we're not collecting for that now, if we're not making it part of how we get ready for it, we won't be ready for it. That's my fear.
Mayor?
Council Worklow.
So let's make a park with a splash pad that requires more water. That sounds great, like a great idea. Sorry.
Go ahead, Jeffrey.
So legally speaking, I'm going to read you what the code says, and understand both Councilwoman Workala's and Councilman Sanders' point, and to Councilman McCarthy's point, I just did the calcs. for the-
It was driving you crazy.
It was because understand, there's a bunch, there's some policy issues that Councilwoman Workala raises, but a lot of this is just math. And the answer is gonna be there, and then, as I did when I was in the council, you're gonna struggle with the sticker shock of what the actuary is going to tell you on Thursday that you need to make. That's not up to you. It's up to math and the state code that says that the rates, fees, tolls, or charges prescribed shall be as such will produce revenue at least sufficient to pay when due all bonds and interest thereon for the payment of which revenue or shall be pledged, charged, or otherwise encumbered, and to provide for all expenses of operation and maintenance of such works or rehabilitated existing facilities. You don't have a choice. You have to charge what it costs, including depreciation and replacement. Now, politically, you're always behind. And I get it. I was sitting up there when we did a 40% rate increase. My mailman handed me my mail and my, what are you doing? Right? So a fair way to address Councilman Workala's point would be take all the costs, subtract out that in-kind work and go, okay, we'll do it this. But you have a fiduciary duty to this water plant.
Yeah.
To make sure that you comply with Idaho Code 50-1032. That's my legal advice, and I'll leave it at that. And then it's $449 for the resident to do 200,000 gallons, and it's $1196 for the truck. So
Thank you,
it's
Mr. Schroeder.
2.9 tons.
Mayor.
Councilwoman Workala.
And then I understand that. So my email to Chris Curtis was what? What was my email to you recently? About like my email to you was hey, what's your opinion? Should we go out for a
Oh, yes, that email.
yes, should we go out for a water study, a water rate study? So I am doing my due diligence on recognizing that we need to keep on track where we're at, but I'm also making a statement of how money is being spent in the city. But yes, that was one of my concerns, or one of my questions was maybe this needs to be built into the budget to go out for a study for a water rate increase. So defending myself.
Councilman McCarthy.
I think I'll jump in now. Trying to unpack all this.
No way.
Councilman Workala had a great point, and the fact is, I did against the water increase because of Railroad Park and using city staff in the water, wastewater, and resources. I didn't feel that is actually funded by those fees, user fees, I don't feel was appropriate. So, and when I see this legislation tonight, I understand it seems to be this big issue of bulk delivery, which we can debate that all night, but it sure feels like that's the big point, but we're going to slide in this increase on the residents for the residential fees and that. So I understand that we have as Mr. Schroeder pointed, a fiduciary responsibility to go forward, but I want to see numbers of, okay, well, that 4.9%, which amazes me, it seems to be just every year. I want to see that evaluation come of this is what that 4.9% each year is going to the total cost project of what's coming out. Because I think that goes a lot better in the public than instead of just a raise every 4.9 years and we talk about a well or we talk about wastewater and it just continually on and goes on and on. So I think there's plenty of municipalities out there that have put out a plan that addresses that and shows what total project costs and everything are for either a well or wastewater, and this is why we're raising your fee and this is what that money should be going towards. So but again, tonight this feels that this legislation was very much pushed for bulk delivery, but yet the residential fee, which we did turn or deny in February, kind of was slid in there. So
Mayor.
Councilman Harjo.
The language of this resolution was worked on by a number of people. I think the framing of it being slid in is an interesting choice of verbiage. I'll just leave it at that. Really the bulk water delivery is my big push. It is an important aspect of protecting the people's infrastructure and their resources. And I'll maintain that. I do think we do have work to do, and I am absolutely with you, Councilwoman Workla. Last week, Association of Idaho Cities annual summit had a number of really relevant breakout sessions specifically around this topic, including presentations from several engineering firms, whether that was Keller or Stantec, financial firms like Merrick. And a lot of these, the one particular that is probably the most applicable to this was a breakdown of how the city of Caldwell applied the logic and engineering of a rate study, how they provided valuation and the depreciation of each component of their system. I talked to Chris about some of this. Next week, I'm going to go meet with the Caldwell Public Works Director. During this presentation, they were describing some software that they had used and continue to use an evolution thereof that provides a systematic approach that, quite frankly, they say you have to be brutally honest with yourself on your maintenance rates, warranty values, real life expectancy versus warranty of parts, but provides that system master plan at the end to provide that here's your rate study, here's your system master plan, here's your maintenance schedule, but as well, which approach do you choose to go with, whether that was big spikes and a glide slope was what Caldwell chose to do. Not saying that that's the right approach or the wrong approach for the city of Mountain Home, but they were doing significant spikes and then gliding that rate increase over a period of 3 to 6 years. With that, I'm still pending getting these slides from the slide deck. Some of their valuation in the existing system that they showed was they were kind of showing both the water and the wastewater side of things, but they look at the unit cost, the year it's installed, its useful lifespan, comments on service and upgrades, component failures, and I think those are all a part of that bigger rate study process where you figure out the financial plan, the cost of service, the rate design, whether you're going to do that big spike in a glide slope or you're going to do continuous, the maintenance rate increase versions, the revenue requirements to run that system, evaluating those key metrics, revenue forecasts. So this was an incredibly valuable hour and a half to go sit through that class. Tiff went to one that we kind of had overlap at the same time in the topic. This one was more keyed at that, how to conduct a rate study and what to expect. What are your performance metrics and what you would expect from a rate study, and then as well creating your master plan out of that. And we do have facilities planning studies as they sit today from, was it 2019? I want to say was the water facilities master or planning study. It's also 2026, and it might be time to do that rate study, and I'm happy to engage in that as well. I mean, it's not just fair to us, but it's fair to the people who own the system.
All right, council, we're on action item number 5. What say ye?
I mean, we've had, I think, two, we could kind of narrow down to kind of two scopes of mindset here. Bulk delivery being one, and the B on the resolution, and sections A and C being being somewhat separate topics in this sense. Again, I champion this resolution for its proposal regarding bulk delivery. If the council wants to see those broken out and addressed separately, I can understand that perspective. I don't necessarily agree with it in whole, but I can understand the perspective. I do agree with Councilman Sanders in the fact that we do have the obligation, and we have system costs that go up every year, and it is our duty in the fiduciary to address these on an appropriate basis. Yeah, I mean, I'm happy to move forward under either perspective. Doesn't make A and C any less important. We're just kind of kicking the road again, and that might mean a greater increase in coming years if we don't adopt what has been deemed as a kind of a fairly standard increase for this city for some years now.
Council. What do you want to do? Here, Councilman McCarthy.
Just for clarification, so we have action item deliberation decision on proposed change in resolution 6-2025R. I believe the resolution in front of us is 6-2026R.
Let's make a good point. Well, Mayor.
Councilman Harjo?
That being said, I mean, we're kind of forced to not address this tonight, aren't we?
Okay, so I will table it till the next one.
Mayor.
Councilman Harjo?
I think it'd be wise of us to perhaps give an indication of which direction we're looking to go if we're going to table this to the next one, what the expectation is, because bringing it back as is may or may not be sufficient for the need.
Okay.
Or match what the desire of the council is. So I think I'd be open to hearing what the council's ideas are for what you would like to see when we do bring this back under its appropriate resolution number.
Mayor.
Councilwoman Workla.
Yeah, A and C off. B is fine for a public hearing so we can hear from their perspective. Since it's going up, you said 736% increase.
It's a chunk.
5, that's more
Okay, council, go ahead.
I just want to clarify. The A will stay, but it will stay at the rate that was approved in 25. Because we keep these records to track all of our stuff. So we'll just keep the rate as what was approved in 25 with those numbers, but it will have to stay.
I understand.
Okay.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilman Sanders?
that being said, I move we approve this resolution with paragraphs A and C reflecting the current rates authorized by the council and be left as presented.
Second.
It's been motioned and seconded. Any further discussion?
Mayor.
Councilman McCarthy?
Again, I thought because of the 2025R, this is what's being proposed is the 2026R. This will have to come back next.
Legal.
Typo.
We had a typo.
typo. Scrivener's error.
Could that not be repaired by delineation?
You wouldn't reenact a resolution that's already been enacted. You couldn't. In other words, it's 2020. In fact, 2025R was the one I was looking for, so I could do my back of the envelope.
So is we can keep moving forward or no?
Yeah, you can
Okay.
move forward. Yeah.
Okay. There's been a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Yeah, Mayor.
Councilman Workla?
And then so, are we gonna put dates to this? Public hearing dates to this? How is this looking for timeline?
What's the next public hearing? Is it 2 weeks out?
No, you have to publish it twice.
Right. So we got next Wednesday and then
So-
the following? So it's gonna be next month?
It won't be till the second meeting.
Do you want that in the motion or?
That's
You guys have got me on dates, so I wanted to just make sure.
Okay, so,
That's the
Mayor.
process of moving it forward. First, we've got to put it out there, then they schedule a hearing for it.
okay. So motion and a second. Any further discussion? Councilman McCarthy.
Just for clarification, Councilman Sanders, can you repeat your motion, please? I know we've gone back and forth.
Okay. My motion is that we approve the document before us with the following changes. Current enacted rates mentioned that are in paragraphs A and C are retained. The increases left out. It shows what we already have on the books. B, we adopt as presented.
Councilman McCarthy.
To come back for a public hearing.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, that's the piece that I missed.
Just for
The
clarification.
resolution really isn't, yeah, like you're just
Adopt the
approving
resolution tonight.
numbers. Yeah.
Because of public hearing, okay.
All right, it's been motion and second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the question. Councilman Sanders?
Aye.
Councilman McCarthy?
Aye.
Councilman Workla?
Aye.
Councilman Harjo?
Aye.
All right, final comments. I'm gonna go really quick. So, council, we're gonna put out an RFP for the 10th Street, to get those quotes that you requested. Finally got all the paperwork. I think we're just dotting the i's, cross the t's, but that'll go out next week. Yeah, and then let's see here. We got Gene Palmer will be retiring at the end of this month.
30th.
I want the citizens to know that we are not at capacity at 85%. We are not at 85% capacity. Let's see here. And with that, I will turn it over to Councilman Sanders.
Mr. Mayor, real quick, I did not mention it during our last council meeting, but a little bit of the irony of it kind of brings it back to me. In our bill run last month, we authorized a payment of $433 for tokens to go into the driving range machine.
Mhm.
I thought the whole purpose of getting the electronic was to get away from those things. That's just my comment.
Mayor.
Go ahead.
So Kathy, thank you so much for coming up and presenting that. And it's on record. It's been addressed to the entire council and city staff. We need to get this moving 100%. And so thank you for taking the efforts to do that. I want to ask city staff do we need to create, or legal even, do we need to create a resolution then to, Kathy, what was it again? Dan said potentially create a resolution that we're supporting to secure the structure and keep the structure as is.
Find it important for the city and the community.
And then once that resolution is, let's say it does get approved by the city, we don't know, but if it does get approved by the city council, then what did the director say?
That's what you just said, to present it to you and the mayor and see if you were willing to, to adopt that. And then if that's the case, then I will move forward. I've already got the mason that's interested in doing the job. And the donor.
Okay, so then Mayor, is this something that we need to put on the agenda so we can create a discussion / action item for this resolution then?
Kathy, I told you, go ahead, proceed, get it going.
I know.
Mayor?
Yeah, hang on 1 second. Resolution. Do you want it on there as a resolution?
Legal, is this something that we need to do?
So, Mr. Mayor, I would suggest a proclamation. Say it would serve the same purpose. And if we all wanted to sign it as part of the proclamation, we could all have our signatures on it. But since they're looking for a locally based document, whether it's by resolution or proclamation might be able to process more quickly. Because it doesn't have to come back to us necessarily for approval.
But I think she wants it from the council, right?
I just want assurance that once we do this project, you guys are telling me we're not gonna tear it down because it doesn't look right in the splash pad park. Basically. Just wanna make sure it's gonna be there for a while, especially since it's gonna be the thousands of dollars to have it.
I don't think anybody up here
I know,
or in the
but
city
what
wants.
about the next mayor and city council? That's
That's the problem. We can't control what the next mayor or council would do.
Yeah, they could get rid of it.
So. But no, I want you to still go, Heather, and like you said, I told you Alexa could help you out with the grant that the Historical Society said they put through for some $10,000. So, oh, we're getting in the weeds, I'm sorry. All right.
Mayor.
Councilman Harjo.
Oh,
Okay, go ahead.
sorry. I'll yield to Councilman.
So do I need to put this on the agenda? That's my question. For us to do a
I don't
discussion.
know, because I don't know what, she alluded to some requirements that were too cumbersome. I don't know what those were. I don't know what the end goal is. I don't know any of those things. If you send me,
Historical Society.
I'll send you my email.
perfect. And I'll tell you what we need.
Okay, and Mayor, if he says that we need to put it on the agenda, can we put it on the next agenda and get it ball rolling? Thank you. Okay.
Councilman Harjo.
I just wanted to recognize that in Carl Miller Park, the annual Juneteenth Festival this year was a memorial to Joe B. McNeil. There's a really pretty bench with a dedication plaque sitting below it. I'd highly suggest everybody go check that out. Mayor McNeil was a special guy.
All I had was thank you, council, for old business number 1. Thank you. I know there might be legal stuff, but I appreciate you pushing that one through tonight. I appreciate it. So, meeting adjourned.